Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Global Apocalypse, Awakening the Soul-Swallowing Talent at the Beginning. Chapter 76. After explaining everything, Lu Li quickly headed to his destination. He remained invisible along the way to avoid exposing his traces. Sakura Man's laboratory is underground. Because he planned to sneak in quietly, Lu Li avoided the heavily monitored entrances and exits and chose the nearest sewer. After determining the general direction, several soul soldiers appeared around Lu Li. This time it's no longer a sword-armed mantis, but a digger wasp. This creature is good at digging and is very suitable for tunneling. In addition, Lu Li intends to increase the level of his soul soldiers. It only took less than 5 minutes for the tunnel to be successfully opened. The movement was so small that no one noticed it. After taking back the soul weapon, Lu Li continued to maintain the invisible state and sneaked into the laboratory. His rescue plan was uncomplicated. It can even be said to be very simple. All you need to do is quietly kill all the Sakura people in the laboratory, and everything will be done. With the blessing of the invisibility talent, Lu Li was like an invisible god of death. The knife rises and falls with the hand, harvesting lives one by one. Fallen bodies are also put to good use. With the auxiliary talent corpse transformation crystal, all corpses can be turned into crystals, which are collected by Lu Li. Although doing this, the number of people in the laboratory will be reduced sharply, and sooner or later they will be discovered by the Sakura people. But Lu Li was not worried about being exposed. By the time someone discovers the intrusion, the entire underground laboratory will probably be cleaned up. The remaining few would probably not pose any threat to Lu Li. As for whether Sakura will use Lin Chinyu as a bargaining chip to blackmail Lu Li. Before searching for souls, Lu Li was quite worried about this. But now, after knowing Sakura Man's full plan, Lu Li was not worried at all that Lin Chinyu would be harmed. After all, the person controlling Lin Chinyu's body now is Shaosong Jiquan. In order to allow the Trojan horse to enter the enemy's city smoothly, Sakura people will definitely ensure the safety of the hostages. It was precisely because of this that Lu Li did not let Lin Qinfang and others sneak in with him, but just asked them to stay outside. First, you can add an extra layer of insurance to prevent fish from slipping through the net. Secondly, it can also prevent Lin Qinfang from causing chaos if he cares about her. It doesn't matter if you can't help. But if you become a burden, the fun will be great. The silent slaughter continued. Finally, the piercing siren sounded. Lu Li flicked the blood droplets on the tip of the knife, knowing that he had been exposed. He simply removed the invisible state and summoned a large number of Mantis Soul soldiers. Because there are still many poor people kidnapped by the Sakura people in the laboratory, Lu Li was worried that the Mantis Soul soldiers would not be able to accurately distinguish between ourselves and the enemy and would hurt innocent people. He simply called out the soul guards Xing Anlin and Chen Hao. Sakura Japs, leave no one behind. Good. Xing Anlin and Chen Hao nodded in unison, leading a group of Mantis Soul soldiers to kill elsewhere. The other end, Ishii and Komatsu stared at the picture on the monitor, their expressions so gloomy that they seemed to be dripping with water. They had expected that Lu Li was very strong and could kill Tojo Hahara. But they didn't expect Lu Li to directly invade the underground laboratory. Let's not talk about how Lu Li sneaked in quietly. The location of the light laboratory is top secret. Unless they are Sakura people or senior members of the Zhao family, no one knows about this secret corner. There was no way Sakura Man would be exposed. After all, the people who come to participate in the plan have been carefully selected and are rare talents in the Empire. After thinking about it, there is only one person who can reveal the secret. Zhao or Wu, this fool, must have betrayed us. Xiao Songzigu showed hatred on his face. Ishii frowned and said doubtfully, Zhao or Wu's talent was taken away by the Motuo clay statue. If he wants to regain it, he must cooperate with us. Why did he betray us and expose the location of the laboratory to Lu Li? Xiao Songjiquan's eyes were full of disdain. For a coward like Zhao or Wu, if Lu Li casually lets him suffer, he must have done it all. Chinese people don't have Sakura's noble Bushido spirit. After all, they are not trustworthy. They are all wimps. Let's quickly implement the next step of our plan and let Lu Li rescue Lin Chinyu. Ishii nodded, looking a little ashamed. It seems it was my mistake. I mistakenly believed in the Chinese race, which is as inferior and despicable as pigs and dogs. Chigo-chan, please give me a chance to make up for my mistakes. I will take Lu Li's head to apologize to those Sakura compatriots who died tragically. Xiao Songjiquan subconsciously wanted to stop it. But then she thought about the special talents of Ishii Mikunu, and she changed her mind. Xiao Songjiquan nodded and said, Senior Ishii has great talent. As long as he takes action, he will definitely succeed. But Lu Li is as cunning as a fox. To be on the safe side, Senior Ishii must take away Zhao Jin's talent. With his immortal body, Senior's strength will be even more powerful. After saying that, Xiao Songjiquan took out the Motuo clay statue. The props have already been charged and can be taken and used at any time. The 3 dogs of Ishii are overjoyed. Young Inu-chan is really well prepared, and you are worthy of being an outstanding subject of my great Sakura Empire. Then he seemed to think of something again and changed the topic. It's just that if I take away the talent, Zhao Jin's soul will dissipate. Once Zhao Quan finds out, we won't be able to continue to use the Zhao family. Don't worry, Xiao Songjiquan said confidently. Just store Zhao Jin's remnant soul for a while, and then find him a suitable body afterwards. I think Dr. Zhen is a good container. After saying that, Xiao Songjiquan turned his head and looked towards the corner of the room. There were a dozen more hostages there. Most of them are women, with no hair on their bodies. Jen Nahi squatted among them, staring blankly at the ground, looking like she was going crazy. Ishii thought for a while and felt that this method was feasible. The transfer process is quick. Sangu Ishii felt the powerful power brought by his dual talents, and an evil fire arose in his heart for no reason. Anyway, Lu Li hasn't found it yet. He can also seize the time and torture the hostages in the room again. Happiness comes second. The most important thing is that he can use this process to improve his strength. 3 minutes later. Boss Lu, all the Japs here have been cleared away. Brother Li, except for a room in the northwest corner that I can't enter, the rest of the room has been cleaned up. Lu Li picked up the last Yuan Jing on the ground, and the reports from Chen Hao and Xing Anlin came to his mind at the same time. I'll be there right away. Lu Li responded and directly exchanged places with Xing Anlin. What stood in front of him was a solid metal door. He could stop a soul guard like Xing Anlin, but he couldn't stop Lu Li. Yin Spirit Possession activates. Julie activates. Shaking Mountain activates. Various talents were added layer by layer, increasing Lu Li's power to a terrifying level. With one punch, the metal door exploded. Lu Li stepped inside the door. The scene in front of me is unsightly. Dozens of white bodies lay twisted on the ground, with bruises that were either blue or purple. Ishii Senkin was lying in the crowd, holding a woman's hair and exercising vigorously. Lu Li's mouth twitched. He is truly a perverted person in a perverted country. No matter what time, the little cherry blossoms can give people the feeling of darkness. The base camp is about to be demolished, but the 3 dogs of Ishii are still in the mood to exercise. It's really a new level of perversion. Lu Li naturally wouldn't wait for Ishii to finish before taking action. With the thoughts in his mind, electric arcs suddenly appeared in his palms. He raised his hand and fired 3 lightning arrows, shooting towards Ishii's butt with great accuracy. I thought I could hurt or interrupt Ishii. Unexpectedly, after being hit by 3 lightning bolts, Ishii not only was not injured, but actually smiled even happier. His movements continued to speed up, and the woman beneath him became more and more painful. Finally, after shivering for a while, Ishii lifted up his pants with satisfaction. He murmured to himself, "It's really abominable. You broke in before the youngest one could enjoy it." Lu Li raised his eyebrows and said sarcastically, "What, you know your death is imminent, so you take pleasure in the moment." Ishii shook his head with a lewd smile on his face. "These women are just tools for me to increase my strength. If you really want to have fun, it must be a little girl under 14 years old." While talking, Ishii had already walked to the wall. He took a samurai sword, fiddled with it for a moment, and then slashed at the nearest women without warning. Those defenseless hostages died before they could recover from their pain. When Lu Li saw this, he immediately flew forward to stop him. However, Ishii's knife was extremely fast. Lu Li tried his best to grab the nearest girl. Even so, he was severely slashed with a katana. The skin and flesh of the wound were turned out, as if a flesh and blood centipede was lying on it. Ishii laughed loudly, his expression extremely arrogant. Lu Li is number 1 on the level list. It seems like this. Lu Li ignored Ishii's taunt and looked around. After confirming that Lin Chinyu was tied to a chair and unable to assassinate him, Lu Li quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Fine. It seems that Komatsu's plan has not changed. Ishii just wanted to challenge him. With no more worries in his mind, Lu Li formed a sword arm in his right hand and pointed at the Ishii 3 dogs. Do you really think I have no one in China? You oriental beast. Ishii put the katana on his shoulder and said with a smile on his face. Don't just use your words. If you have the skills, come and kill me. Lu Li frowned slightly. Although he had searched for Tojo Hahara's soul, he didn't know the innate abilities of Ishii Sananu. This guy usually hides his talent deeply and never shows his talent in front of others. The only thing he learned was that Ishii's 4-dimensional attributes were higher than those of ordinary people. Without using his talents, he can crush players of the same level. If it's just a talent that can increase 4-dimensional attributes, it wouldn't be difficult to deal with. But why is he so arrogant, as if he doesn't care about me at all? Is it because of the Motu clay statue? Ishii Senkin has gained powerful natural abilities through the Motu clay statue. Thinking of this, Lu Li couldn't help but feel wary. If that were the case, he would have to use all his strength. Don't be careless anymore. It's a pity that Alyssa is not here, so the luck attribute cannot be increased. Lu Li thought as he quickly opened the data panel. Replace the title of Leap Level Kill. He also took out the worm-toothed dagger from the ring and held it firmly in his left hand. 5 soul soldiers with different attributes quickly condensed, and under the influence of yin spirit possession, Lu Li's body was quickly strengthened. The level of the soul soldier is directly maxed out. As if he thought this was not safe enough, Lu Li said to Ishii Sengu again. Wait a minute, I'll make some preparations. Seeing that the other party had no intention of attacking violently, he took out several amplification potions from the ring and drank them one by one. These are all good things bought from Wanji Traveling Merchant. Although it cannot permanently increase attributes, it can also temporarily increase a lot of combat power. Seeing Lu Li desperately stacking buffs for himself, the expression on Shijing's face was half contempt and half surprise. Contempt, naturally, because he felt that Lu Li was too timid. After all, judging from Xiao Song Ji Quan's description, Lu Li should be the kind of ruthless person who dares to kill and fight. Now it seems that the courage of the number 1 in the rankings is about the same as that of a mouse. As for the surprise, I felt that Lu Li had too many good things. Bottles of potions after bottles, props after props. Ishii Senkin waited for 5 minutes, and Lu Li hadn't even finished taking the medicine yet. This is simply longer than the time it took him to finish exercising with 10 women combined. Hey, are you okay? I'm just making preparations. Does it take so long? It's almost ready. I finished drinking this bottle, gurgling, gurgling, and this bottle, gurgling, gurgling. Another 5 minutes passed quietly. It wasn't until Shi Jing's patience ran out that Lu Li was finally ready. Come on, I'm ready. Ishii was already impatient with waiting. He picked up his samurai sword and charged at Lu Li with a strange scream. Lu Li's body tensed up and he was concentrating. He even used the footwork from the Chen family's sword manual. Seeing that the katana was about to strike, Lu Li twisted his steps and turned slightly to avoid the blade. Immediately afterwards, the left and right arms turned at the same time, and the blade suddenly broke through the air, hitting the chest and throat of Ishii Sananu respectively. Use all your killing moves. At the same time as he attacked, Lu Li did not forget to activate his defensive talents to reduce the possible damage for himself. However, what surprised Lu Li? The battle was not as intense as imagined. Even the end, a bit sloppy. Shi Jing was completely unable to avoid Lu Li's attack. After 2 soft sounds of the blade breaking through flesh, Ishii's head detached from his neck and rolled to the ground. The worm's teeth also hit the heart, like a leech that had been hungry for 10 years, desperately sucking the life out of the body. After a while, there was a headless mummy on the ground. 1. Lu Li was a little confused. He felt it wasn't over yet. It must be Ishii who is cheating. Therefore, Lu Li very cautiously sent out soul soldiers to repair Ishii's shriveled body 80 times. Even Ishi's head was trampled to pieces by the stone-skinned soul soldiers, who trampled and crushed him over 100 times with their feet. Really dead. Lu Li looked at the pile of cadavers on the ground that were no different from minced meat. Confirm that the other party is really dead. Only then did he dubiously activate soul swallowing to plunder the talents of the 3 dogs of Ishi. The moment he saw the talent, Lu Li's doubts were solved. Ishi Sananu has 2 talents. They are the diamond level gathering yin and replenishing yang, and the jade level immortal body. This is by no means saying that these 2 talents are weak. Quite the opposite. The combination of these 2 talents is very powerful. But with such a strong talent, it was so easy to die that he met Lu Li, a loser. Leading to a direct break. The effects of the 2 natural abilities are as follows. Gathering yin and replenishing yang allows players to randomly increase attribute points during exercise. Although there is a limit of 3 times per day, it can be accumulated continuously. Growth potential is nearly unlimited. Over time, the player's 4-dimensional attributes will be superimposed to a very terrifying level. And the immortal body is even more powerful. It can regard the sum of the player's 4-dimensional attribute values as a physical attribute. For example, Lu Li's current attributes are Strength, 15.8, Physique, 15.6, Speed, 15.9, Spirit, 15.2. Together they total 62.5. After activating Immortal Body, Lu Li's physique will directly become 62.5. Once the 2 talents are combined, it can no longer be said that there are hundreds of millions of pieces of meat. It is a rhythm that directly kills the opponent to death. It is precisely because of this that Ishi Sananu's self-confidence is inflated. With the blessing of cheating physical attributes, almost no players can kill him at this stage. But unfortunately, Ishi Senkin happened to face Lu Li. Back then, Lu Li robbed a special talent from the 3-headed hell dog. Law-breaking field. It can make all talents with a level lower than Lu Li lose their effect. When fighting, Lu Li naturally used this talent. This caused Ishi's immortal body to completely fail. Although there are still some attribute values accumulated by gathering yin and replenishing yang. But with the large number of negative effects attached to the worm-tooth daggers, absorption of target attributes and blade arm, this attribute has no effect. Not to mention that Lu Li also stacked a lot of buffs for himself. Without any exaggeration, Lu Li just now was able to kill Ao Zhan with spiritual possession fully activated. If I had known I was so weak, I wouldn't have taken so many medicines. Lu Li felt a little distressed. Although those medicines are not expensive, I still have a lot of them. But his mosquitoes are also meat. There is still a long way to go in the future, so we should avoid such extravagance and waste. But the medicine was all gone and I couldn't spit it out even if I picked my throat. There's no point regretting it. It's better to get down to business quickly. Lu Li raised his legs and walked towards Lin Qinyu. Seeing Lu Li leaning towards him, Xiao Songjiquan quickly squeezed out a smile, pretending to be extremely surprised and said, Lu Li, you finally came to save me. Woohoo, you don't know how much I have suffered here. Lu Li nodded perfunctorily. Ah, really? Then you can relax now. I'm here not only to make you feel wronged, but also to torture you. What? Xiao Songjiquan's face froze, a little confused. Lu Li laughed dryly and quickly changed his words. Ahaha, I mean, are the ropes on you very tight? Xiao Songjiquan nodded repeatedly, with an undetectable murderous intention in his eyes. Yes, these Sakura people are so disgusting. They tied me up so tightly. Lu Li, help me untie it quickly. Okay, I'll help you right now. Lu Li responded. He walked around behind Xiao Songjiquan and started working. However, it took a long time. Xiao Songjiquan still didn't feel that the rope restraining his hands and feet was untied. Instead, there was a painful feeling that was getting tighter and tighter. Lu Li, have you untied the rope? Why do I feel it's getting tighter and tighter? Lu Li's mean voice slowly came out. It's okay if you feel tight. Just stay here and I'll deal with you after I'm done. I mean, I'll take care of you after I'm done. Lu Li's face was filled with sunshine as he left the tied-up Lin Qinyu, where he was. And he himself began to clean up the battlefield. After rummaging around, Lu Li found the Mo Tuo clay statue, as he wished. Looking at the ugly cherry blossom shape of the clay statue, Luli's eyebrows were full of disgust. What a poor taste. In fact, there is no such prop as the Motuo clay statue in the apocalyptic game. There is such a magical material as rubbing clay embryo. Theoretically, it can be shaped into any shape according to will. Used to store and replace souls and talents. The magic rubbing clay statue seems to be made from the tabulation clay embryo. I just don't know why, but the cost of using it has turned into pain. You need to torture people to recharge the items. All in all, the props are very powerful. But for Lu Li, it was of no use. Because swallowing souls can completely replace the function of Motuo clay statue, and it does not require sacrifice and pain. However, Lu Li did not throw away this prop. After all, swallowing souls can only enter but not exit. And it only works on dead bodies. To deal with the parasitic young pine dog on Lin Qinyu's body, she had to rely on the Motuo clay statue. It takes the pain of about 10 people to complete one charge. How about we capture 10 Sakura people and torture them? Lu Li thought and walked towards the other side of the room. There was also a metal door there, which looked stronger than the previous one. In line with the concept of doing things to the extreme, and cutting off the grass by rooting out the roots, Lu Li planned to come in and take a look. If there happened to be 10 little Baga hiding inside, the charging target of the Motuo clay statue will be completed. However, before Lu Li arrived at the door, suddenly there was a groan in the room. Lu Li turned around and found that the girl he had rescued was kneeling on the ground tremblingly. What's going on here? Just when Lu Li was about to step forward to check, Lin Qinyu, beside him, suddenly said. She was drugged by the Sakura people, and now the drug is probably taking effect. Poisoned. Lu Li was startled. What poison? Where is the antidote? Lin Qinyu has a strange face. It's not poison, it's an aphrodisiac. Aphrodisiac? Yes, it's still a strong aphrodisiac. Hiss. Lu Li gasped. Can't you use the healing talent to detoxify? What about the sacred blessing? No way. Lin Qinyu shook her head helplessly. This medicine is specially made by Ishii Sananu. I guess there is no antidote at all. What will happen if we let it go? Lu Li had a vague thought. You will become a madman. Lin Qinyu smiled half-heartedly. Other than vigorous exercise, there is no way to save her. Lu Li suddenly felt embarrassed. He and the girl were strangers to each other. Although it is for the purpose of saving people, the essence of the movement will not change. If you really want to do this, wouldn't it be too cruel? No, how can I be like the Sakura devils? There must be another way. Lu Li shook his head, trying to find a solution from his past life memories. But at this moment, a pair of jade arms suddenly wrapped around her from behind. My train of thought was completely interrupted. The hot body temperature stimulated Lu Li's skin, and his bumpy body rubbed against Lu Li's back. Please, want me quickly. The girl's breath is like orchid, full of resentment and coquettishness. She even stuck out her tongue and playfully teased Lu Li's earlobe. When Lu Li turned around, the car could no longer stop. The girl's eyes were full of mist, shy and eager. The slightly hot breath released a seductive signal in a rough tone. Look further down. Just a naked body with nothing on. When Lu Li was rescuing people, his attention was entirely on the Ishii 3 dogs, and he really didn't pay attention to these beautiful scenery. Looking at it now, it's hard to look away. After his rebirth, Lu Li was already at a young age. Even with the tenacity of his previous life, it is still difficult to control him in front of a proactive beauty. You just saved my life, I'm really grateful. Can you please save me one more time? Hurry up, please, I feel so uncomfortable. The girl's small, moist lips moved slightly, uttering a murmur that made people blush and make their heart beat. Wait a minute, this face looks familiar. Only then did Lu Li react, holding the girl's cheek to take a closer look. Unexpectedly, his actions were directly misunderstood by the other party and regarded as a signal of agreement. The girl pressed directly against Lu Li's body, wrapping around him like a water snake. A fire with dry firewood will light up at once. Before Lu Li could recall the girl's identity, his mind went blank. The body is taken over by the most primitive instincts. It was as if a hot metal spoon slid into the butter all at once, melting each other in the transfer of temperature. Lu Li and the girl vented their feelings and composed beautiful music together. By the time everything was over, nearly 2 hours had passed. The girl curled up in Lu Li's arms, like a tired cub, sleeping extremely sweetly. I actually slept with her, and it seemed like it was the first time. It's over now. Lu Li looked at the girl's face and felt a little panicked. He already recognized who the girl was. No one else. It was the female evil star who sat firmly on the throne of the #1 female assassin in her previous life and was given the nickname Shadow Rakshasa. Li Luo. Even Lu Li in his previous life didn't know the true strength of this female assassin. She doesn't even know what her natural abilities are. I only heard that she used a bug-tooth dagger to collect money and kill her. Once she took action, no one would survive. After panicking for a while, Lu Li decided not to panic. Anyway, no matter how scary Li Luo is, he is still Li Luo from his previous life. Now she is just a weak girl and has not yet become the first female assassin. Otherwise, Ishi would not be used as a hostage. At worst, when Li Luo wakes up, he will tell him all about the future. Anyway, Lu Li, wanted to save people, and his intention was good. It's just that the process is a little out of control. Thinking of this, Lu Li felt much relieved. Raising his hand to take out a bed from the space ring, Lu Li gently laid the girl down. He planned to continue with his previous plan and take a look after entering the metal door. Ahem, it's finally over. Don't do it again. Just as Lu Li straightened up, a joking voice came from behind. Wipe, I was so engrossed just now that I forgot there was someone watching in the room. Live, Lu Li had never played so wildly in his life. Seeing Lu Li turning around in embarrassment, Xiao Songziquan continued teasingly. I can't tell, but your skills are really good, and it's very popular. Lu Li pretended to be indifferent and secretly cursed. No matter how skilled you are, can your skills be as good as yours, Sakura-chan? When the Motuo clay statue is fully charged, I will swallow your soul. Ignoring Lin Chinyu, Lu Li raised his legs and walked towards the metal door. Seeing that Lu Li seemed to want to open the metal door, Xiao Songjiquan's expression changed slightly and he hurriedly stopped him. Lu Li, don't open that door and untie me first. Lu Li stopped holding the doorknob and turned to look at Lin Chinyu. What's behind the door? You untie the rope for me first. Xiao Songjiquan became more and more anxious. Hey, I won't. You tell me what's behind the door first, otherwise I'll just open it. Lu Li pretended to pull the door. He was using no force at all. But there was a muffled sound from behind the door. It seemed like something heavy had hit the door. Don't open the door, come here and help me untie it. The little pine puppy was twisting desperately on the chair, trying to escape. In fact, the rope she originally tied to her body was just a cover-up, and she could easily break free with certain skills. But the few times Lu Li tied it up afterwards were really solid. Totally unable to break free. What's behind the door? Lu Li realized something was wrong and took a few steps back, summoning his soul soldiers to protect him. Boom! The dull crashing sound came again. The heavy metal door deformed instantly and a large piece bulged outward. It's not me who wants to open the door now, but what's inside is coming out. What's behind the door? Lu Li asked sharply. The air was suddenly quiet. It's like nothing happened. Lin Chinyu moved her mouth slightly, as if she wanted to tell the answer. Before she could speak, a loud noise suddenly came out. Boom! The deformed metal door was like an out-of-control locomotive, slamming towards Lu Li's position. Fortunately, Lu Li was prepared and had his soul soldiers resist most of the impact for him. Otherwise, if you resist this forcefully, you will probably be injured. Li Luo was also awakened by the loud noise. She propped up her aching body and looked in the direction of the sound. There seemed to be a familiar shadow in the smoke. Mother! Li Luo shouted subconsciously, but what responded to her was not her mother's voice, but a piercing howl. Roar! Investigation. Lu Li quickly made a reconnaissance, and the relevant information was instantly displayed on the panel. Name: Demonized and Transformed Chaos Mother Insect Lord Creature. Level: LV.30. Tip 1. After a series of demonic transformations, this creature has completely broken away from the original biological template and reduced to chaos. No more relevant information can be obtained. Tip 2. The actual combat power of this creature is unknown, seriously inconsistent with the displayed level, and beyond the range of combat power assessment. It is recommended to evacuate immediately. Demonic transformation. Human experiment. Staring at the figure slowly walking out of the smoke, Luli's heart sank to the bottom of his heart. That's a woman. A woman who looks very similar to Li Luo. There was no trace of human expression in the dull eyes, and they were filled with a crazy desire to kill. The woman's arms had long since disappeared, replaced by a pair of ferocious mantis scimitars. The upper body is connected to the huge belly of the female mantis, and black blood is constantly oozing out from the rough wounds. It seems to be to maintain this abnormal combination. The woman also carried 2 thigh-thick gas tanks on her back, and the gas was continuously flowing into the human body along the pipes. How crazy do you have to be to think of combining humans and monsters? Lu Li almost couldn't hold back his anger and raised his hand to kill the young pine dog. Mother! Li Luo shouted again. At this moment, she had already gotten off the bed, looking at the Chaos Mother insect with despair in her eyes. It seemed that he heard the call. The woman turned her stiff neck and slowly looked towards Li Luo. Mommy, mommy! Li Luo kept shouting and stumbled towards the woman. Seeing that the distance between the two is getting shorter and shorter. The woman suddenly twitched and her arms shook faintly. When Lu Li saw this, his pupils narrowed sharply. Broken. It's an attack signal. Danger. Lu Li quickly increased his speed, wrapped one hand around Li Luo's slim waist, and pulled the girl back. The next moment, the blade struck and cut off a section of Li Luo's hair. Soul Soldier, block it. Lu Li took Li Luo and retreated violently. While avoiding the attack, activate Insect Swarm Deterrence on the woman. Although the target is a transformed chaotic creature, the name still contains the word, Mother Insect, so Insect Swarm Deterrence is still effective. It's just that Lu Li's level is a bit different. Fully activating the innate ability only caused the woman to lag for a moment. Fortunately, there are soul soldiers blocking it, which can delay it for some time. This allowed Lu Li to distance himself safely and come outside the room. Mother! Li Luo looked at his deformed mother in the distance and burst into tears. Fortunately, she was just sad and did not lose her mind and rush forward again, which made Lu Li temporarily relieved. It's too dangerous to stay here. You should leave first. Go outside the laboratory. There are my people there who can protect your safety. Li Luo shook his head desperately. No, my parents are still here, I don't want to leave. Lu Li frowned. Now that the enemy was facing him, he didn't have the patience to persuade the girl to leave. Since you don't want to leave, just stay in the corner. Before Li Luo could say another word, Lu Li raised his left hand and lightly tapped the girl on the back of her neck. Afterwards, he summoned the soul guard Chen Hao and asked him to guard the girl and protect her safety. After explaining this, Lu Li turned around and returned to the room. Although Lu Li's soul soldiers were huge in number, they were endless. But in the face of the absolute level gap, it is still difficult to hurt the Chaos Mother insect. To kill him completely, Lu Li must do it himself. I thought the medicine I just took would be wasted. Now here comes a female insect, just in time to test my strength. Facing the terrifying monster, Lu Li was not timid, but actually a little excited. But excitement is excitement, and you still need to have some sense. Lu Li did not immediately join the battle, but looked at Lin Qinyu in the corner. Hey, does this thing have any weaknesses? Hearing this, Xiao Songjiquan was about to reply. This is the work of Miqi Shi, and she doesn't know the details. But then I thought about it. She is currently playing the role of Lin Qinyu, the hostage. If you talk too much, wouldn't it appear abnormal? Immediately he spoke. You ask me, who should I ask? I only know that there is a scary monster behind the metal door. I told you not to touch it, but you still didn't listen. Your summons won't last long, come here and help me untie the rope first. Lu Li sneered and put Lin Qinyu aside again. With a thought, the 5 ghosts of luck and wealth are summoned. Lu Li asked softly, if you 5 search for her soul, will you harm another soul in her body? The other 4 ghosts all looked at Shi Wenye, as if he was the boss of the 5 ghosts. Although Shi Wenye couldn't speak, he could understand what Lu Li meant. After thinking for a moment, he nodded regretfully. Okay, it seems I need to explore on my own. Lu Li nodded and took the 5 ghosts back. This scene fell into the eyes of Lin Chinyu, and caused quite a stir. Xiaosong Jiquan had a lot of thoughts in his mind. I didn't expect Lu Li to be able to take away Tojo Senpai's 5 ghosts. It's such a terrifying talent. If I can kill Lu Li and get his talent, I will definitely become a hero of the Sakura Empire. No, I already have such a terrifying talent, why should I still be loyal to Sakura? I can become the first female emperor of Sakura and make all Sakura people loyal to me. No, it should be the whole world. Lin Chinyu looked fanatical, and when she looked at Lu Li, her eyes were full of greed that could not be concealed. I'm really curious about what level such a terrifying talent would be. Lu Li didn't care about Xiaosong Jiquan's inner thoughts. At this moment, he has focused all his attention on the Chaos Mother insect. This monster is 15 levels ahead of him. The main function of level is to improve the 4-dimensional attributes. Some special talents and abilities will also continue to unlock powerful effects as the level increases. Just like Ao Zan's spiritual possession. As the level continues to increase, more powerful gods can be unlocked. Although Lu Li once defeated a level 10 Queen Bee at level 0. But that was based on the premise that Lu Li knew the weakness of Queen Bee. He can use his experience and combat skills from his previous life to forcefully bridge the gap between levels. But now the situation is completely different. Lu Li didn't know the weakness of the female worm, let alone the talent of the female worm. Because the level is lower than the opponent's, the talent spell-breaking field cannot be used. In addition, one must also hold on to the 15-level attribute gap and be on guard against demon erosion, turning into deep erosion at any time. And the most annoying thing is, the actual combat power of the Chaos Mother insect is seriously inconsistent with the displayed level, and is beyond the scope of combat power assessment. In other words, the actual combat power of the female insect may be far beyond level 30. For such a powerful monster, if it weren't for the help of 4 sword slaves, Lu Li would have died several times now. This was Lu Li's most grueling battle since his rebirth. So that, Lu Li began to use his sword skills intentionally or unintentionally. It was different from when I was in the hub arena. Every move used by Lu Li this time came from the broken sword manual without any changes. When the blade rises, madness arises. In an instant, there seemed to be wind and thunder rolling in the entire underground space. The arrogant and unruly aura continued to build up on Lu Li, slowly increasing his strength attribute. Lu Li's combat power has reached its peak. Still can't beat the Chaos Mother insect. The deformed creature seemed to be cheating. No matter how many times it is attacked, it will recover after a while. On the other hand, Lu Li was hampered at every turn. As long as he makes 1 or 2 mistakes, he will have to hand over his life here. The situation is not optimistic. Lu Li's brows almost twisted into knots. Tried so many times. Not only was he unable to kill the Chaos Mother insect, he couldn't even find the opponent's weakness. The only thing that has a clue is the magic gas tank on the back of the female insect. If the gas tank could be destroyed, it might be possible to weaken the regeneration ability of the female insect. But the mother worm obviously also understands the importance of the gas tank and protects it very well. Even if Lu Li bombards him with lightning bolts, the female insect will still block it with her body. If this continues, the battle will undoubtedly end in failure. Want to run? Anyway, Xiaosong Jiquan is the only one watching here, and he will definitely be silenced afterwards. Thinking about it this way, running away seems to be a good choice, not shabby. Just when Lu Li was thinking about how to make a gorgeous retreat, Chen Hao's exclamation suddenly came from outside the door. "Boss, the person is missing. He's missing." Lu Li was stunned for a moment, and out of the corner of his eye he caught sight of something dark, swooping into the house. Silently, like a fish swimming into the sea, it submerged into the shadow of the Chaos Mother insect. Why is the person missing? Lu Li stared at the shadow of the Chaos Mother insect and asked loudly. That is, she woke up and found me guarding her, so she begged me to save her mother. Seeing that I disagreed, she started crying, and then her whole body suddenly turned into a puddle of black water. Chen Hao stammered, obviously frightened. It's not that he, a grown man, was frightened by the girl's strange behavior. The main reason is that he is worried that Boss Lu Li will erase his consciousness. After all, as a soul guard, Lu Li can decide whether he exists or not. It turned into a puddle of black water. Lu Li muttered to himself. Could it be that this is Li Luo's innate ability? Shape-changing. But if it really becomes a puddle of black water, how can it move quickly? Etc. If it was black water, how could it blend into the shadow of the Chaos Mother insect? No, Shadow Rakshasa's ability can never be just a simple, shape-changing. Just as Lu Li made his judgment, the shadow of the Chaos Mother insect suddenly became active, breaking away from the most basic physical laws of light and shadow. It's like a pot of boiling water, boiling like crazy. At the same time, the movements of the Chaos Mother insect were no longer fast and became slower and slower. Until the end, he was frozen in place, unable to move even a minute. Force control. Lu Li was horrified. He finally knew the reason why Li Luo was firmly seated as the #1 female assassin, able to sneak in quickly and forcefully control opponents. It is simply an innate ability tailor-made for assassination. But Li Luo seems to be very unskilled in controlling his talents. After controlling the Chaos Mother insect for a short while, the boiling shadow gradually calmed down. The female insect regained its ability to move again and rushed towards Lu Li with its teeth bared. This girl isn't reliable either, so we have to run away. Lu Li turned to one side to avoid the mantis scimitar that was hitting Tianling Gai. Stealth activates. The Chaos Mother insect missed the first blow and screamed, trying to hit Lu Li a second time. As soon as he raised his arm, he found that Lu Li was no longer in the room. Only 4 stupid puppets were still in place. Although the Chaos Mother insect is not intelligent, it also knows that those hard things are difficult to deal with. Pick the persimmons that are soft. Therefore, it turned its head and looked at Lin Qinyu, who had been watching the battle in the corner. The little pine puppies are in a panic now, because the development of things was completely beyond her expectation. Everything has obviously been considered. Even Lu Li's strength was within her prediction. Even if Lu Li kills everyone in the laboratory, she, Xiao Songjiquan, can still get by with the help of Lin Qinyu's body. But why did things develop like this? Not only was he tied tightly to the chair, unable to break free, but he was about to be torn into pieces by a monster. Wasn't Lu Li here to rescue the hostages? Why did you abandon Lin Qinyu and run away? What step went wrong? Seeing the Chaos Mother insect approaching little by little, Xiao Songjiquan's eyes were full of despair. She watched the penetrating scimitar slowly lift up, hanging at the highest point for a moment, falling suddenly and accelerating. Xiao Songjiquan has received professional training from the Empire and can overcome inner fears. Under normal circumstances, she is not afraid. But before the real death threat, Xiao Songzichu sadly discovered that those trainings are of no use at all. Help me. Xiao Songjiquan collapsed instantly and cried loudly. At this moment, the rapidly falling mantis scimitar suddenly stopped. Invisible Lu Li stood behind Lin Qinyu, looking at the scene in front of him in surprise. The shadow of the Chaos Mother insect seemed to have condensed into substance. A large number of cone-shaped black spines poked out from the shadow, either piercing the body of the female worm. The petite Li Luo appeared without knowing when. With the help of Blackthorn, he was resisting the mantis scimitar with all his strength. She also cried, "Mom, Mom, wake up. Don't kill anyone." But the Chaos Mother insect has long lost its mind. Facing the girl's cry, it just twisted its body desperately, trying to break away from the black thorns formed by the shadows. Have you taken control again? It seems like an opportunity. Lu Li raised his brows and formed his sword arm again. Before the female insect fully resumed its movements, she found the right angle and struck hard at the magic gas tank. The sharp blade pierced the air and made a whining sound. Lu Li's attack did not miss this time and hit the target firmly. The magic gas tank was instantly shattered, and a large amount of black-green gas spurted out, filling the entire room. Lu Li had been wearing a gas mask and the situation was quite optimistic. On the other hand, Li Luo and Lin Qinyu accidentally inhaled a large amount of demonic energy. Among them, Li Luo is the closest, and the demonic energy he inhales is the strongest. Already on the verge of reaching her limit, she immediately lost all strength and fell to the ground and passed out. The negative effects of demon erosion appear quickly and continue to deepen as time goes by. If he doesn't do something, within half a minute, Li Luo will suffer from the negative effect of deep erosion and become a magic cocoon irreversibly. Use your talents quickly. Lin, Qin, you. Lu Li kicked the female insect away and roared at the person on the chair. He deliberately emphasized the words, Lin Qinyu. If Li Luo is corrupted into a demon cocoon, I will kill you without hesitation. Seeing Lu Li's fierce eyes, Xiao Songjiquan felt that Lin Qinyu's heart suddenly skipped a beat. The other soul sleeping in the body, the real owner of this body, was so frightened by Lu Li's words that he showed signs of waking up. How can this be? Suppressing the fear in his heart, Xiao Songjiquan still planned to negotiate terms with Lu Li. You can use your talent, but you have to untie me first. You wanna die. Lu Li raised his knife and stabbed it, instantly piercing Lin Qinyu's lower abdomen. Before Xiao Songjiquan could cry out in pain, Lu Li drew the knife again and raised his hand, about to stab him a second time. They all say that they are afraid of being stunned. Lu Li's crazy and careless look completely frightened Xiao Songjiquan. She suddenly recalled the previous scene where Zhao Jin tried to threaten Lu Li with Xu Xiao. It doesn't seem to have the desired effect. It seems like Lu Li really doesn't care whether the hostages live or die. I listen to you, don't kill me. Xiao Songjiquan hurriedly shouted loudly. I will use my talent immediately to eliminate the evil erosion. The brilliance of holy blessing fell in response, quickly clearing away the corrosive effects on Li Luo and Lu Li. However, Lin Qinyu did not use it on herself. Lu Li saw it but didn't expose it. After all, it is still impossible to separate Xiao Songjiquan from Lin Qinyu's body. There is no benefit in a blind showdown. After helping Li Luo up, Lu Li threw extreme healing on her. After the girl calmed down a little, Lu Li immediately said, now I give you two choices. The first choice is to leave here immediately. Second option, cooperate with me and kill that monster. I don't even want to choose. She is my mother, she is not a monster. Li Luo cried hoarsely and tried to break away from Lu Li. But she didn't succeed. Snapped. The sound of the slap was extremely clear. Li Luo's cheeks quickly became red and swollen. Lu Li said expressionlessly, you have to choose. Otherwise I will kill you immediately. Li Luo covered his face and looked at Lu Li with fear in his eyes. Choose quickly. Lu Li looked not far away and urged. The female insect he kicked away had already climbed up, and it looked like she might launch another round of attack at any time. I don't know what kind of ideological struggle this 17-year-old girl went through in this short moment. She suddenly changed from her previous cowardice, and her eyes became a little strange. I choose the second option. How do you want me to cooperate with you? Use my talent to control my mother. Lu Li was a little surprised. He originally thought that Li Luo would choose to leave here. Suppressing the surprise and curiosity in his heart, Lu Li immediately nodded and said, yes, how long do you have control? I don't know, it's very short. Li Luo also spoke quickly. Probably less than 2 seconds. That's enough. Lu Li turned to the chaos insect mother, as long as you can control it for 1 second, I'm sure to kill it. Li Luo's eyes dodged. She asked tentatively, can you leave me the chance to kill? Lu Li suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. Why? Li Luo's eyes dimmed. Because she's my mother. Even if she becomes a monster, she is still my mother. And you saved my life and are my benefactor. I don't want you to become my enemy because you killed my mother. These few words made Lu Li filled with emotions. I will try my best. Go into battle with your sword in hand and unleash your talents. This time, with the sacred blessing of Lin Qinyu, Lu Li was completely free and no longer had to worry about demon erosion. Soul Guard, Lu Li called in a low voice. Black mist spreads and condenses. 2 figures appeared in front of Lu Li one after another. This time it was not Xing Anlin and Chen Hao, but 2 women with similar looks. It was the opponent Lu Li met in the 12th game of the Hub Arena. Black and White Evil. Looking at the 2 soul guards summoned by him for the first time, Lu Li smiled lightly and said, Hey Sha Bai Sha, wait for the battle, are you willing to show your ability to win the battle? The black and white demons looked at each other, then knelt down on one knee and said in unison, willing to serve my lord. Lu Li nodded and looked at Li Luo again. When we fight for a while, keep your eyes open and don't miss my signal. Li Luo. Okay. It was as if the tactics had been discussed in advance. Lu Li in black and white attacked the Chaos Mother insect at the same time, with 4 puppet sword slaves assisting them during the process. The 7 figures took turns attacking, and they were able to fight to a draw with the female insect. Li Luo stayed in the corner, waiting for the signal to activate his talent. But Lu Li didn't signal for a long time. After waiting, Li Luo became stunned. It wasn't that she was distracted, but that she was fascinated by watching Lu Li's battle. Those refined moves and crisp attacks seemed to be imprinted directly into Li Luo's mind. After inflicting heavy damage on the female insect, Lu Li quickly retreated and took a moment to glance in the direction of Li Luo. Seeing that the girl was fascinated, his guess was immediately confirmed. Really, Li Luo became the #1 female assassin in her previous life, not just because of her natural abilities. There is also that terrifying understanding that even she herself is not aware of. Just by watching the game, you can easily enter a state of flow. If developed and trained, the heights that can be achieved in the future are immeasurable. In order to allow Li Luo to stay in the flow state for a while longer, Lu Li fought against the Chaos Mother insect for more than 10 minutes. It wasn't until his physical strength was exhausted that he shouted to Li Luo. "Now, use your talent to limit it." The girl woke up with a start and hurriedly used her talent. Just like Chen Hao said. After Li Luo used his talent, his whole body quickly turned into a pool of black substance. But it's not black water, but a shadow as thick as water. The black shadow that the girl transformed into moved quickly and soon merged into the shadow of the female insect. After a moment's pause, the shadow boiled. A huge number of conical spines suddenly poked out, scrambling to stab the female worm. The female insect wants to hide. But there is no gap among the densely packed spikes, so there is no way to escape. Lu Li seized the opportunity, cut off half of the woman's body with a single stroke of his blade arm, and cut it off from the mantis body. The battle is now over. Without the supply of magic energy tanks, the wounds of the Chaos Mother insect would no longer be able to heal. All that's left to do is to hit the target. Li Luo faded away from his shadow form and stared blankly at the woman in front of him with her teeth and claws waving. "Give." Lu Li stretched out his hand and handed the insect teeth to Li Luo. "Prick her from the center of her eyebrow. If your mother is still conscious, this will not cause her any pain." A simple sentence made the girl burst into tears again. Lu Li originally thought that Li Luo would struggle for a long time before taking action. Unexpectedly, she simply took a deep breath and then inserted the tooth into the woman's eyebrow. Accurate and powerful. After doing this, the girl knelt down and sat beside the body, dazed for a long time. Lu Li knew that Li Luo needed time, so he deliberately left her some space without disturbing her. After converting the corpse of the Chaos Mother insect into Yuan Jing, Lu Li originally wanted to enter the room and search for loot. However, before he could enter, Lin Qinyu suddenly shouted, "Lu Li, now that the danger has been resolved, can you help me untie the rope?" The little pine puppy barks loudly, which is a bit abnormal. As if it was meant to attract attention. Lu Li frowned and turned around, just about to deal with Xiaosong Jiquan. Suddenly, from the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a black shadow, rushing toward him quickly. "I kill you." Because the distance was too close, it was too late to dodge. It's too late, it's fast. Lu Li subconsciously turned around and raised his hands, trying to block the attack. But it was still half a step slower. The sharp scalpel stabbed hard into the chest. At this moment, Lu Li could even see the successful smile on the attacker's face. However, the muffled sound of the blade penetrating flesh was not heard. Instead, there was the crisp sound of metal colliding. Ding! What? The smile on the attacker's face froze for an instant and turned into unbelievable surprise. Before he could figure out what was going on, Lu Li struck with a powerful punch. Click! With the superposition of several strength talents, Lu Li's punch directly broke the attacker's jaw. "Scared me." Lu Li glanced at his chest in shock. There was a deep scratch on the light armor, and a faint trace of demonic energy remained in it. You know, Lu Li spent a lot of money to buy this piece of equipment from the hub arena. It is the light armor with the highest defensive attributes currently. The sneak attack just now could actually leave traces on it. Lu Li looked at the attacker. He is a middle-aged man with an honest face and a fresh face. Who are you? Why do you want to kill me? However, the attacker's jaw had been shattered, and he could not speak at this moment. Just when Lu Li was about to summon 5 ghosts to search for his soul, Li Luo's scream suddenly rang out. Do you recognize him? Lu Li said in surprise when he saw Li Luo staggering closer. Of course, this is my father Zhen Neihe. Seeing that his father's jaw was broken, Li Luo's eyes were filled with heart-wrenching pain. I wanted to blame Lu Li, but I couldn't. Is he your dad? Lu Li's face became even more shocked. Li Luo's father. Why attack him secretly? Could it be that seeing his baby daughter playing sports with him was related? But that's also to save people. Wrong. Lu Li frowned, feeling that things were not simple. He suddenly remembered that when he was about to enter the room, Xiao Songjiquan deliberately shouted loudly. Could it be that there is another soul in Zhen Neihe's body? If that were the case, we couldn't recklessly let the 5 ghosts search for their souls. Otherwise, if Zhen Neihe's soul is hurt, Li Luo will probably hate himself to death. Lu Li did not ask Lin Qinyu, but called the black and white demons to hold Zhen Neihe down, and immediately activated extreme healing on him. The jaw injury healed quickly. But for some reason, it was still difficult for Zhen Neihe to speak. Not only is the articulation unclear, but the word order and logic are also a bit confusing. Lu Li, I beg you, I must kill you and take good care of my daughter. Kill you, the Zhao family will not let you go, please. After listening carefully for a long time, Lu Li finally managed to decipher 2 meanings from Zhen Neihe's words. One of them wanted to kill him. The other kind wanted to ask him to take good care of Li Luo. There are really 2 souls in one body. The person who wants to ask Lu Li to take care of Li Luo should be Zhen Neihe. The other one shouted that the Zhao family would not let Lu Li go. Besides Zhao Jin, who else could be there? One is already a headache, and now there's the second one. Lu Li was very upset. If calculated according to the charging standard of the Motuo clay statue, if you want to separate the souls of Xiaosong Zhigu and Zhao Jin, you need to sacrifice the pain of at least 20 people. Where could he find so many little baga? Li Luo saw Zhen Neihe's confused appearance and immediately realized what the problem was. The only trace of blame towards Lu Li disappeared from his eyes. She rubbed the sheets wrapped around her nervously, with a pitiful expression on her face. Benefactor, my dad, what's going on? Lu Li started to speak but stopped. It's a long story. Anyway, in order to prevent your dad from hurting himself, let's tie him up first. Ah, can you not tie me up? Li Luo subconsciously wanted to stop him. But when his eyes fell on Lu Li's chest, he swallowed back his words in mid-sentence. My father's sneak attack just now is irrefutable. Lu Li didn't raise his hand to kill, he just restricted his movements, which was already very merciful. The black and white demons moved quickly and quickly tied up Zhen Neihe. After confirming that there was no threat in the laboratory, Lu Li opened the chat interface and entered a series of messages. Soon, Lin Qinfeng led a group of Lin family disciples into the laboratory. Alyssa was also among them, and she also brought some news that surprised Lu Li. She was being followed. Although the other party was very careful, he still couldn't escape the cat-eared girl's keen perception. According to Alyssa's description, he was a young man dressed as a special force. You don't need to think about it to know that he is Ao Zan's person. Lu Li didn't mind Ao Zan's intervention. On the contrary, Alyssa's whereabouts were exposed, or was he intentionally instigated? Originally, Zhang Taigong was planning to fish, but those who wished would take the bait. Don't have high hopes. I just didn't expect Ao Zan's people to really bite the hook and follow behind. When did this stupid guy become smart? He could guess that Alyssa and I were in the same group. Lu Li muttered in his heart. But since the other party has followed, he doesn't need to worry about the follow-up processing here. Just leave it to the professionals. Worried that Lin Qinfeng might not be able to keep an eye on Lin Qinyu and Zhen Neihe, Lu Li specially asked Alyssa to follow him back to the Lin family. As for himself, he chose to go to the shelter first. First, let's explain it to Ao Zan. Secondly, I wanted to confirm whether Zhao or Wu was killed. Although Li Luo wanted to follow Lu Li, he couldn't leave his father behind. Therefore, we can only follow the large army and return to the Lin family first. Surrounded by strangers, Li Luo didn't dare to talk casually, so he could only follow silently, like a poor little tail. The attentive Alyssa soon discovered this. She quietly came to the girl's side, took out a long windbreaker, and handed it over. Here, it's not enough to stay wrapped in sheets. Let's put it on first. Li Luo looked at the clothes in front of him and was stunned for a while. He hesitated for a long time before carefully taking them and saying thank you. Alyssa continued, you don't have to be afraid. Lu Li is a very powerful master. Following him is definitely a wise choice. Li Luo felt strange, but for a moment he couldn't tell what was wrong. He could only nod his head and asked in a low voice. Sister, have you also been saved by a benefactor? Of course. Alyssa patted her chest proudly. Without Master Lu Li, I wouldn't have been able to survive the first fight. The two soft balls were trembling non-stop, making Li Luo dazzled for a while. The girl looked down at hers. Well, I feel a little inferior. A fight, it sounds so scary. Li Luo also failed to understand Alyssa's second sentence. However, this did not prevent her from having a good impression of Alyssa. Although this sister with cat ears speaks a little strangely, the kindness she exudes is very real. This made Li Luo feel safe. She wanted to continue this sense of security, so she tentatively asked. Sister, can my father and I follow you? Alyssa was stunned when she heard this, and looked at Li Luo in surprise. When the girl saw this, she thought she had asked some offensive question, so she shrank her neck in fright, like a frightened little rabbit. If you're in trouble, sister, just pretend I didn't say anything. No, Alyssa waved her hand and said with a smile, I thought Master Lu Li had already accepted you. Hearing this, Li Luo immediately lowered his head. She quickly glanced at the turbulent waves on Alyssa's chest, and said with low self-esteem. My benefactor saved me, but he didn't seem to say he wanted to take me in. Alyssa patted Li Luo on the shoulder, her face full of the confident expression of someone who had come before. If you have to take the initiative in this kind of thing, how can you wait for Master Lu Li to speak? I'll ask Sister Lin for you later to see if I can get another contract. As long as we sign the contract, we will be our own people from now on. Is that so? Li Luo's mood suddenly cleared up like a rainy day, and he suddenly became cheerful. Thank you, sister. Oh, by the way, after chatting for so long, I still don't know what your name is. Alyssa suddenly thought of something and scratched her head in embarrassment. If you sign a contract, you must write your name and add the blood of the contract before it can take effect. My name is Li Luo. The girl responded obediently. Lu Li didn't know that during the time he went to the shelter alone, his chief servant, Alyssa, had already secured the future #1 female assassin for him. Now, he was just standing at the door of the shelter, looking at Ao Zhan opposite with a headache. Zhao Wu, who was beaten half to death, was lying on the ground and had no strength to scream. If it weren't for the special forces under Ao Zhan who had healing talents and continued to apply healing effects, Zhao Wu would have died 800 times at this moment. I thought you got away. Come on, keep fighting. Ao Zhan shouted, looking like he would rush forward at any moment. Lu Li raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. I surrender, just admit that you are awesome. Ao Zhan, is that right? My name is Lu Li, the weird Lu Li. Nice to meet you. As he spoke, Lu Li stepped forward quickly. Before Ao Zhan could react, he quickly took his hand and shook it. We don't know each other without fighting. We will be good friends from now on. Ao Zhan looked at the right hand that was held, and then at Lu Li, who was smiling brightly. He was confused. What's the situation? Wasn't this guy very arrogant at first? He said, I don't like to meet random weaklings. If you want to introduce yourself, use your fists instead of your mouth. Why do you seem to be a different person after being away for a few hours? Could it be that he was scared after seeing Zhao Wu's miserable appearance? Thinking of this, Ao Zhan's anger instantly disappeared. Although he was punched by Lu Li, which was a bit embarrassing. But Lu Li's brother, Zhao Wu, was also hung up by him and beaten for several hours. They were almost beaten to death. When comparing the two, Ao Zhan still had the upper hand. That's right. It's very consistent with the logic of no acquaintance without fighting. Having figured out the joints, Ao Zhan became friendly again. Not only did he not hold any grudge against Lu Li, but he actually felt a little embarrassed. I I was a bit over the top just now, so I may have struck too hard. But don't worry, your brother's injuries will be covered by me, and I will definitely make him fully recover. With that said, Aozan pulled Zhao Wu up from the ground, as if to reassure Lu Li. But he didn't control his strength well and accidentally broke 2 more bones. Poor Zhao Wu fainted from the pain. Hey, why did it break again? I'm sorry, brother Zhao Wu, I didn't mean it. Seeing that Aozan really wanted to regard Zhao Wu as his brother, Lu Li hurriedly explained. He's not actually my brother. What? Aozan was confused again. Don't tease me, it's not your brother. How can he survive this long? Lu Li was ashamed and muttered to himself. You didn't give him a chance to give up either. Ah, what are you talking about? Aozan looked stupid. Well, what I mean is that this person is secretly colluding with Sakura. The survivors in the entire shelter are actually supplies for the underground laboratory. Lu Li simply told the truth. Anyway, Aozan's people followed Alyssa and discovered the existence of Sakura Laboratory. Instead of waiting for them to waste manpower and time investigating, it is better to provide clues and directions directly. Maybe, you can get rewards for your reports. After resurrecting his life, Lu Li naturally understood that the old order in China had not collapsed. It is just that due to various reasons, the situation cannot be effectively controlled. However, facing Lu Li's report, Aozan was still confused. It wasn't until his men whispered a few words in his ear that the general gradually came to his senses. Oh, really? Ah, so that's it. What? The stupid Sakura devils are still doing human experiments. The preliminary estimate is that the number of victims is 50. They haven't even cleaned up the mess in their own country, and they're already trying to take advantage of us. Oh, there are 3 people alive. Where are the people? Don't tell them, and they are still locked in the laboratory. Ah, you were rescued, right? Who rescued you? What the hell do you mean? What does the pointing finger mean? The face of the special team member who had followed Alyssa almost turned into a bitter melon. He hinted so clearly, but his leader still didn't understand the meaning. In the end, Lu Li sighed and said directly to Ao Zanming. The 3 surviving survivors were taken away by my people. Don't worry, they will receive proper treatment. So that's it. Ao Zan suddenly realized, turned around and slapped the special team member on the back of the head. It's just a sentence. Why are you signing with me? I left my vocal cords at home. The poor special operations team member was instantly photographed on the ground and lay there for a long time before he got up tremblingly. Lu Li's mouth twitched hard. He immediately cast sympathetic looks at the other special forces members. Fortunately, he was surprised at first how Ao Zan became smarter. The order to follow Alyssa was not given by this stupid man at all. It all depends on the thoughtful special operations team members. It was also thanks to these team members who were good at making decisions, otherwise Lu Li would not have been able to get rid of the mess in the laboratory smoothly. By the way, mission. Ao Zan slapped his head and looked at Lu Li. I came to Yangcheng this time just to protect your safety. By the way, you are still suffering from demon erosion, right? How can you get rid of that thing? All the special operations team members had expressions of despair on their faces, and they wanted to complain but could only hold it back. Did you know that you came to Yangcheng on a mission? Do you still know that you want to help Lu Li eliminate the demon erosion? If someone really had a situation waiting for you to protect them, their bodies would probably be cold by now. Lu Li chuckled and explained. Devil Chi corrosion is just a cover. The main purpose is to attract those Sakura people hiding in the dark. I don't have any problem myself. In order to reassure Ao Zan, Lu Li also showed him the attribute panel. However, Ao Zan's brows tightened even more. No, you can't be fine. Why? Lu Li was confused. The special operations team members were even more confused. What's wrong with your own leader? Lu Li was fine, and there was no demon energy erosion effect on his body. Why do you have to curse people to get into trouble? What kind of madness is this? Ao Zaniu's eyes widened with an extremely serious look on his face. Kongwa is Kongwa. Old Man Jin's divination cannot be wrong. Kongwa, Old Man Jin. Lu Li was stunned, and an old figure immediately appeared in his mind. An ominous premonition suddenly surged through my heart. Could it be that old crow's mouth? The old man you are talking about, Jin Guoxin, is not Jin Guoxin, who has the talent of divination, right? Lu Li asked anxiously. When Ao Zhan heard this, a look of surprise appeared on his face. Brother Lu, do you know that old man? He's Jin Guoxin. The expression on Lu Li's face quickly turned to stone. Broken. What a hapless old man. Jin Guoxin, male, age 81. Appearance: white hair, white beard and white eyebrows. He also likes to wear plain white gowns on weekdays. All over his body, except for one pair of eyes which are black, the rest are white. Immortal spirit, transcendent from the world. But it just so happened that he was such an old man from beginning to end. But every time Lu Li in his previous life saw him, he would think of a black bird. Crow. For nothing else. Just because of Jin Guoxin's innate ability divination. Whenever old man Jin uses his abilities, the predicted results are not optimistic. 9 times out of 10 fortune tellings, there is a narrow escape from death. The rest of the time, there will be no chance of death. If old man Jin's calculation is not accurate, then it doesn't matter. The person seeking the hexagram is at best in trouble, which is harmless. But this old man's divination results are extremely accurate. It's not as exaggerated as being perfect, but out of 100 predictions, hitting the target 98 times is still stress-free. Over time, a limerick became popular among players. If Mr. Jin doesn't open his mouth, the world will go sideways. As soon as Mr. Jin opens his mouth, there will be no way for him to survive. As for Jin Guoxin himself, he was given the honorary title of Old Crow's Mouth by the players. Everyone avoids it. What a stupid old man, what are you trying to make for me? Have you ever asked me, the person involved, for my opinion? Lu Li roared silently in his heart. However, now the hexagrams are up and the divination results have appeared. No matter how crazy Lu Li was, it wouldn't change any facts. After quickly calming down, Lu Li asked Ao Zhan. Lao Jin's divination result is Con Gua, so does he have any other information? For example, a solution like, what can we do to avoid this disaster? Ao Zhan tilted his head and thought for a long time. Finally, Lu Li shook his head with his expectant eyes. No, the divination result I learned is Con Gua. As if he was worried that Lu Li didn't understand the meaning of Con Gua, Ao Zhan asked again in a serious tone. Do you know what Con Gua means? Lu Li responded weakly. Unlucky mother opened the door for unlucky. Ah, what do you mean? Ao Zhan's mind got stuck again. What bad luck. Lu Li put one hand on his forehead and took a deep breath. Jin Lao's divination results are timely within 24 hours. If the divination results brought by Ao Zhan were true, Lu Li would definitely experience a huge disaster today. If not handled properly, the result will be burps. Thinking of this, Lu Li began to investigate potential threats around him bit by bit. Is it the little pine puppy hidden in Lin Qinyu's body? But I already know her plan, and it's completely impossible to give her a chance to take action. An enemy came to visit. But I have completely wiped out the Zhao family in Yangcheng. If Zhao Quan really wants to send someone to come to me to settle accounts, it will take at least 2 days. Is it Li Luo? The scene of the girl turning into a shadow suddenly appeared in Lu Li's mind. The future #1 female assassin's natural abilities are indeed strange. But with Li Luo's current level, a spell-breaking domain can make her helpless. Moreover, Zhen Nei's problem has not been solved yet, so Li Luo has no reason to hurt Lu Li. Who on earth would put me in this desperate situation? Lu Li thought for a while, but still couldn't find any clue. At this moment, there was a sudden quarrel in the distance. Lu Li looked up and saw a large group of people crowded at the entrance of the shelter. At a glance, one can tell that there are 2 forces. The crowd kept pushing and shoving, and we could only guess that there was a conflict, but we didn't know the specific reason. What are you doing? The cautious Lu Li was still sorting out his thoughts, but the distracted Ao Zhan had already roared at the top of his voice. Too arrogant. Lu Li frowned and was about to quietly retreat behind Ao Zhan. Unexpectedly, his way was blocked by a big hand. Brother Lu Li, come with me and take a look. With a smile on his face, Ao Zhan casually threw the half-dead Zhao Erwu to the special operations team. Lu Li's mouth twitched fiercely. I almost forgot that this stupid guy also has the habit of being nosy. Brother Ao, I don't have a clue about Mr. Jin's divination results yet, why not? Lu Li didn't want to get involved in the conflicts of other survivors. His own problems haven't been solved yet. Ao Zhan grinned widely and patted Lu Li's shoulder again with his big palm-like hand. It's just a matter of mediating the conflicts among the survivors. It won't take much time. Besides, brother Lu Li, you are so strong. If there is any disaster, you won't be able to appear among these survivors. It's hard to say. Lu Li frowned, still not agreeing with Ao Zhan's optimistic view. His past life experience told him that only by being cautious at all times can he survive in the apocalypse. But Ao Zhan didn't give Lu Li a chance to stand back and watch. Stretching out his big hand, he directly hooked Lu Li's shoulder and walked towards the crowd. Lu Li couldn't handle it, so he simply activated his invisibility talent and became transparent. When Ao Zhan rushed into the shelter, hung up Zhao Wu and beat him violently, all the survivors in the shelter watched. Although Ao Zhan's identity was unclear, his big fist opened everyone's eyes. In the apocalypse, strength is king. So when Ao Zhan intervened, the survivors didn't let him stay anywhere. Instead, he stated the facts in a hurry. Lu Li listened carefully for a while and found that the cause of the matter was probably that a group of people wanted to expel a few survivors. Auntie, I'm not being alarmist. Those disaster stars will really cause disaster. Leaving them in the shelter is irresponsible for everyone's life safety. Aunt Zhang screamed loudly, spittle flying everywhere. Ao Zhan wiped his face, feeling a little disgusted. Auntie, we are all survivors who came to seek refuge. We are all the same. There is no such thing as causing disaster. Seeing someone helping to speak, a woman with a capable aura squeezed out of the crowd. It was Wu Siwan who almost broke into the house with Xu Xiao and 3 others to catch an adulterer. She also rebutted Aunt Zhang. Yes, Aunt, we are all survivors who have come to seek refuge. It is unreasonable for you to drive away 3 of our members with just a few words. Aunt Zhang put her hands on her hips and rolled her eyes. You girl, why can't you tell the difference between good and bad words? Auntie is very old, can you talk nonsense? 3 of your team members have a lot of enemies outside, and they will seek revenge anytime, anywhere. What are they if they aren't disaster stars? If you don't believe it, you can ask the person behind me. Having said that, Aunt Zhang twisted her fat waist and showed her, witness. The residents of Sunshine Community are all talking like a bunch of noisy flies. Wu Siwan frowned and listened for a long time before she could barely understand the ins and outs of the matter. She argued loudly, don't make any mistake, my team members are also implicated, they are not the revenge targets of those people. The shelter is safe, I can vouch for my character. The crowd was quiet for a while. Seeing this, Wu Siwan wanted to say something more. At this time, a beer bottle suddenly flew out and hit her on the head. Who's your personality? Can you guarantee the lives of everyone in the shelter? There were ugly shouts and curses from the crowd. The sound of the glass bottle breaking was like a rapidly burning fuse. It ignited the crowd that was already ready to move. Conflict broke out instantly. Because of the pressure of survival in the apocalypse, all survivors are on fire. Plus someone is deliberately provoking it. Now, if you move your hands, you will directly greet death. Within half a minute, someone was already bleeding. Ao Zhan saw something was wrong and quickly activated his natural ability. Possession by spirits. The chaotic crowd was calmed down again with the thundering roar of the giant spirit god's phantom. But even so, many people were injured. The problem needs to be solved urgently. Ao Zhan frowned and looked at Aunt Zhang and Wu Siwan. Where are the 3 disaster stars? Bring them out and let me take a look. Wu Siwan frowned and looked at Ao Zhan with a little more disappointment. They are my teammates, not disasters. Ao Zhan looked embarrassed. I just said casually, let people come out first. Wu Siwan had a sullen face and waved her hand behind her. The crowd moved out of the way, and 3 familiar faces came into view. Lu Li was startled, and a wry smile appeared on his face in the invisible state. The 3 disaster stars are none other than others. It was Xu Xiao, Wang Chao and Ma Han. Among them, Wang Chao and Ma Han had already activated their talents, and they were staring at everyone with angry faces. Xu Xiao, on the other hand, had his head lowered, as if he was a child who had done something wrong. Wu Siwan put her arms around the girl's shoulders and comforted her in a low voice. Xiao Shu, don't be afraid. No matter what the outcome is, I will never abandon you. Xu Xiao sighed sadly and whispered. Thank you Sister Wu for your kindness. It's me who has dragged you down. Aozan looked at the three of them carefully and raised his rough eyebrows. Just these three young people. These are still high school students, what kind of disaster can they be? Auntie, listen to me. Just the three of them staying in the shelter will not cause disaster. When Aunt Zhang heard this, the proud smile she was about to show instantly disappeared, and she started to cheer again. You look so tall, how can you say such a mindless thing? Aozan's expression froze. Everyone has already explained that the three of them were implicated and are not revenge targets at all. Aunt Zhang turned her head. Then I don't care. If they are here anyway, they will attract that disaster star named Lu Li, and the safety of the shelter will not be guaranteed. Wait a minute, Lu Li. Aozan came back to his senses. The disaster star you are talking about is called Lu Li. Aunt Zhang and all the survivors in Sunshine Community nodded. Yes, that disaster star's name is Lu Li. Brother Lu is not a disaster star. If it hadn't been for him, you would have died long ago. Wang Chao argued loudly. That's right, in Sunshine Community, if Wang Suyan hadn't attracted people here, everyone wouldn't be in danger. If you don't fight against the perpetrators, why are you trying to make things difficult for us victims? Do you think the three of us are easy to bully? Ma Han also scratched his neck and yelled. However, no matter how loud the two of them were, they couldn't outshine the loudness of everyone else's voices. The sad look on Xu Xiao's face became even stronger. She tugged at the corner of Wu Siwan's clothes and whispered. Sister Wu, let's forget it. I'm not welcome in this shelter, so I'd better leave. No, you three are already my teammates. I said I will not give up on you. Wu Siwan still insisted. The members behind her also responded. That's right, Xiao Shu, this is not your fault at all. If you listen to their nonsense and leave, you will really be a disaster. Xiao Shu, don't leave, Sister Wu, if you want me to tell you, just kick them. Yes, hit them until they shut their mouths. The atmosphere was tense, and another conflict was about to break out. But at this moment, a sudden voice suddenly broke the tense atmosphere. Haha, brother, did you hear that? These people say you are a disaster star. Where is my brother? Aozan looked around as if looking for someone. Aunt Zhang narrowed her eyes, as if looking at a mentally ill person. You came here alone from the beginning, how can you have any brothers? No, Aozan pointed to the air and then to himself. There is obviously someone beside me, haven't you seen it? Aunt Zhang rolled her eyes and ignored Aozan. She turned around and shouted to everyone. Everyone, let's drive these three disaster stars out. Get out, get out, get out of here, you are not welcome here. A few impatient ones had already strode forward, grabbed Xu Xiao's clothes and dragged them out. The scene was chaotic. Aozan wanted to stop it. But now no one wants to listen to him. It's not easy for him to use his abilities. After all, spiritual possession is too powerful. If someone accidentally hurts an innocent person, Aozan would not be able to explain it to his superiors. Wang Chao and Ma Han can resist. However, Xu Xiao kept shouting at them not to do anything. The two of them could only defend passively and were in a very embarrassed state. Wang Chao shouted unwillingly. If Lu Li were here, would you still dare to be so arrogant? You just think we are easy to bully. Aunt Zhang's face was full of sarcasm and she sneered. Then you call Lu Li here. If you call him here, won't we not dare to bully you? The words just fell. Then a low reply came to Aunt Zhang's ears. I'm here. Invisibility withdrew. Lu Li looked at the stunned crowd in front of him with a half smile. Aunt Zhang was so frightened that her face turned pale and she was stammering and speechless. You. Yes, I am Lu Li. Lu Li nodded. As if he wanted to let Aunt Zhang see her more clearly, he leaned over and brought his face closer. Then, he said word by word. I am what you call the disaster star. Aunt Zhang took 2 steps back and almost fell down. Fortunately, there was someone helping her from behind, and she managed to stand firm. Feeling that the supporters at the rear had not retreated, Aunt Zhang's confidence was restored. She rolled her eyes and said with a mean face, since you know that you have many enemies and are a disaster, why don't you take your little girlfriend and leave quickly? There are so many of us here, all innocent people. If I get implicated by you, do you think you'll do anything wrong? Committing sin. Lu Li seemed to have heard a very funny joke and laughed loudly. Then your theory of victim guilt doesn't make you guilty. I made it clear today that Xu Xiao and the others have nothing to do with me, and my enemies will not find shelter. In fact, Lu Li originally wanted to say that he had almost wiped out the Zhao family's influence in Yongcheng. But considering that some of the managers of the shelter may still be related to Zhao or Wu, they didn't go into detail. Unexpectedly, these words came out. Instead of letting Xu Xiao go, Aunt Zhang and others intensified their efforts. Since they have nothing to do with you, stop meddling in their own business. Expelling them is an internal decision of our shelter and has nothing to do with you, an outsider. Since the logic doesn't make sense, we have no choice but to take action. Lu Li's eyes were cold, and black mist rolled around him. Hundreds of Mantis Soul soldiers rushed to appear and surrounded the entire exit of the shelter. Ao Zaniu's eyes widened, looking at the sudden appearance of the Soul soldiers around him. He was so shocked that he could not speak. Aunt Zhang and other residents of Sunshine Community saw this and retreated one after another. Like frightened sheep, they gathered together timidly. Lu Li, what do you want to do? It's nothing, Lu Li said expressionlessly. It is impossible for Xu Xiao and the others to leave the shelter. Those who agree, this is the exit and can leave now. After that, the Soul soldiers behind Lu Li separated, and a small gap appeared. If you don't agree, keep it. Give you a minute to think about it. After saying that, Lu Li crossed his arms and began to wait. No matter what Aunt Zhang said, he ignored it. Wu Siwan took the lead in leading people away from the gap. Before leaving, he gave Lu Li a thumbs up. You're not bad, you're a man. Lu Li did not look at Wu Siwan, but said coldly. There are 40 seconds left. Ao Zan noticed the murderous intention in Lu Li and tried to stop him. Brother, don't be impulsive. Things can be discussed. It hasn't reached that point yet. Lu Li glanced at Ao Zan and said calmly. You should leave quickly. Don't even think about stopping me. You can't. What? Ao Zan was stunned and smiled carelessly. Brother, don't be joking. Before Ao Zan could finish speaking, Lu Li directly activated his talent, Spell-Breaking Field. With him as the center, within a radius of 20 meters, all talents will immediately become invalid. Including Ao Zan's spiritual possession. I'm not kidding. Lu Li looked at Ao Zan again and said without any emotion in his words. There are still 20 seconds left. I don't want to kill you too. You. Ao Zan noticed something strange on his body and was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Seeing that the situation was not good, the special team members on the periphery rushed into the gap and dragged their leader out. Looking at the murderous Soul soldiers around them, many residents of Sunshine Community chose to leave. A look of panic appeared in Aunt Zhang's eyes. But perhaps because she felt it was too much to save her face, she still didn't move. Lu Li, there are so many of us here, do you want to kill us all? Lu Li did not respond and just continued to tell the time. 10 seconds left. Are you going to kill so many of our innocent people just to let 3 people into the shelter? 5 seconds left. Are you crazy? What's the difference between what you're doing and those monsters? Time up. The corners of Lu Li's lips curled up. I gave you a chance to live, but you're useless. The killing begins. The sword-armed mantis is good at attacking and killing. Plus the effect of Spell-Breaking Field. Killing Aunt Zhang and others is like chopping melons and vegetables. Within 10 breaths, only one person was left at the scene. Lu Li deliberately left Aunt Zhang behind. At this time, she was so frightened that she peed and excreted, and was kneeling on the ground, shivering and mumbling something. When I heard it closer, I realized it was the ambiguous word, Amitabha. Give you another chance. Lu Li smiled, with a kind expression. Go and apologize, Buddha will forgive you. Aunt Zhang felt like she was being pardoned and wanted to get up from the ground. But after trying it a few times, my legs seemed to have lost all feeling and they were completely out of control. In the end, Aunt Zhang could only crawl to Xu Xiao on her knees and said with tears in her eyes. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I shouldn't have called you a disaster star. I'm a fool and I chew my tongue. Xu Xiao couldn't bear it and looked at Lu Li. Why do you want to kill them? They just like to stir up trouble, and their crimes will not lead to death. Lu Li chuckled. He imitated Aunt Zhong's tone before and said calmly. Killing them is my madman's personal decision and has nothing to do with you, the Holy Mother. You. Xu Xiao choked and was speechless. Behind her, Wang Chao and Ma Han looked happy and quietly gave Lu Li a thumbs up. Aunt Zhong looked at Lu Li, clasped her hands together and begged. Lu Li, Uncle Lu. I have finished apologizing, can you leave? No, Lu Li said bluntly. You can't leave, you have to die here. Why? Aunt Zhong's face was filled with fear, she collapsed and screamed. You said that after you apologize, Buddha will forgive me. Lu Li smiled even more happily. Yes, Buddha will forgive you, so I will send you to see him first. After finishing speaking, Aunt Zhong's head fell to the ground. The soul soldiers were withdrawn. A strong wind blew across the ground, stirring up dust. The entrance to the entire shelter was filled with blood. There was dead silence. Only Ao Zhan, who was held down by several special team members, murmured. China's hope is a lunatic. Lu Li didn't care about everyone's attention. He just patiently dealt with the corpses on the ground, and after swallowing souls he used corpse condensation crystals to make individual crystals. Just when everyone thought that the whole farce was going to end with this bloody end, a new incident occurred. A man appeared at the door of the shelter at some point, staring at Lu Li in a pool of blood. Lu Li, you are really strong. Qi Ziyu murmured, and the next second he took steps towards Lu Li. Lu Li also noticed someone approaching and raised his head in confusion. Come for revenge. Qi Ziyu shook his head repeatedly, enthusiasm gradually revealed in his eyes. No, 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 I just admire your strength. Mr. Lu Li, can you allow me to hold your hand? As if worried that Lu Li would disagree, Qi Ziyu hurriedly added. I have done business with Xu Xiao before. She is my friend. I am not a bad person. I really admire your style, Mr. Lu Li. Hearing this, Lu Li subconsciously cast a questioning look at Xu Xiao. Xu Xiao had the same confusion on his face. She looked at Qi Ziyu and said, have you ever made a deal with me? Or you? I'm Qi Ziyu, the same Qi Ziyu who replaced Yuan Jing with you. I was tricked by you a little at that time. Qi Ziyu laughed, without any anger on his face. Ah, it turns out it's you. Xu Xiao felt a little embarrassed. When Lu Li saw that the person who came here did not look like he was seeking revenge, and that he had made a deal with Xu Xiao, his guard immediately relaxed a lot. However, he still did not blindly agree to the other party's request for a handshake. Forget it about shaking hands, I still have to deal with these bodies. Lu Li declined. Unexpectedly, Qi Ziyu took 2 steps forward, as if the fanatical fan finally saw the idol he had been thinking about day and night. He said in an excited tone. Just shake it, Mr. Lu Li, I won't take you long. I really admire you. Qi Ziyu was too close. Lu Li frowned slightly and was about to say something else. Unexpectedly, Qi Ziyu suddenly jumped forward and bumped into Lu Li. Before anyone could react, he suddenly stretched out his hand and held Lu Li. Plunder! Qi Ziyu roared excitedly. In an instant, Lu Li felt an extremely painful pain in his palm, as if he had been penetrated by thousands of steel needles. He wants to activate spell-breaking field. But it was too late. All the familiar feelings disappeared. Instead, there was an unfamiliar emptiness. The talent is gone. All talents are gone. Even swallowing souls has become locked and cannot be used. On the other hand, Qi Ziyu. The whole face was congested and red due to extreme excitement, and the veins stood out. Ha ha ha, it's done, sir, I'm done. Seeing his talent being taken away, Lu Li did not remain in a daze. Instead, he quickly withdrew his palm and took out the Chen family sword slave from the space ring. Kill him. Lu Li gave the order, and the 4 puppets drew their swords in response. Seeing that the situation was not good, Qi Ziyu immediately retreated to avoid it. At the same time, the exposed skin on the body hardened rapidly, forming a thick layer of stone armor. It was one of the talents that Lu Li had taken from the hub arena, granite armor. The blade slashed down, sparks and gravel bursting out. But it couldn't hurt Qi Ziyu at all. Ha 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 ha, what a powerful talent. You really deserve to be number 1 on the level list. Seeing that the situation was not good, Ao Zhan immediately activated his talent and wanted to step forward to help. As soon as Nehi got close, the effect of spiritual possession was directly destroyed by the spell-breaking field. In the end, he could only rely on his already strong body to deal with Chi Ziyu. However, as he continued to fight, Aozan felt something was wrong. Chi Ziyu would use different methods every time he responded to an attack. For example, last time, I chose to use granite armor to resist cuts. This time, use rapid to avoid Aozan's fist. He was quickly becoming familiar with Lu Li's talent. So Lu Li's talent is so strong. No matter how simple Aozan was, he knew that Lu Li didn't use all his strength when he started fighting him. But what he didn't expect was that there are so many reserved parts for Lu Li. Now it was Chi Ziyu who used his talent, which directly made Aozan feel the pressure of death. After a few rounds, let alone hurt Chi Ziyu, even escaping from the battle is difficult to do. Aozan, right, your talent seems to be pretty good, why don't you give it to me? Chi Ziyu laughed wildly, his face full of ferocity. What? Aozan was shocked. Just as he was about to dodge, a lightning bolt hit him head and face. As long as he hits, Aozan will lose his mobility in an instant and become a prey for Chi Ziyu to slaughter. Aozan wanted to hide. But the lightning bolt is too fast. It's over. Aozan was desperate and prepared to meet his end. But at this moment, a figure suddenly stood in front of him. He was able to withstand that astonishing lightning bolt. Lu Li, are you crazy? Aozanyu's eyes widened. Without talent, you will die. Lu Li groaned, but was not hurt at all. Do you think I only rely on talent? The arc of electricity burned all the outer windbreakers, revealing the light armor inside. Lu Li flipped his palm, and an exquisite conch appeared immediately. Under the confused looks of Chi Ziyu and Aozan, Lu Li blew the conch. Woo! A sound like a ship's whistle came from the conch, making people's eardrums hurt. Chi Ziyu was wary and did not dare to show any lightness. However, nothing happened. It wasn't a sonic attack, and it didn't cause any damage. The prop used by Lu Li seemed to be just a louder instrument. Are you here to be funny? After confirming that there was no threat, Chi Ziyu couldn't help but ridicule. Lu Li didn't say a word, just waiting quietly on the spot. With 4 sword slaves restraining him, Chi Ziyu could not approach him for the time being, nor could he escape. Just wait. Hurry up, why are you so slow? Although Lu Li looked calm, he was a little worried. After all, it was his first time to use the magical conch, the only item of mythical quality. I don't know how long it will take for traveling merchants from all over the world to come after the sound is blown. If he had to wait for a long time, Chi Ziyu would have run away long ago. Fortunately, what Lu Li was worried about didn't happen. Just 3 minutes after the conch blew, a thunder suddenly exploded in the sky. An elk came through the void carrying 2 huge burdens several times its own weight. Lu Li squinted his eyes and saw clearly that the red figure was still sitting in the center of the baggage, and he put down most of his mental arithmetic. Just be a traveling businessman in red. The elk fell, its legs leaving 2 skid marks on the ground. The traveling merchant in red greeted Lu Li excitedly. I didn't expect that we would meet again so soon. Have you found the lollipop I love? A smile appeared on Lu Li's face. Enough with the lollipop. But this time I'm calling you not to buy props, but to buy services. The traveling merchant in red was stunned, and a bellicose smile immediately appeared on his face. The only NPC Wanji travel merchant has more than just the function of trading. Lu Li also knew the special functions of each type of traveling merchant. Red clothes are warlike and can be bought and killed. The man in blue is cowardly and can spend money to escape. The deceitful man in yellow can buy answers to questions and get the chance to get power-up items. Lu Li didn't need to say anything, the traveling merchant in red already understood. He looked around and asked, who do you want to kill? Lu Li pointed at Chi Ziyu. No problem. The traveling merchant in red raised his arm. He aimed at Chi Ziyu's neck and slowly stretched out a finger. Although Chi Ziyu didn't know the identity of this dwarf in red who suddenly appeared. But the body's instinct made the most correct response. He moved one side of his body in a strange way to avoid the invisible power of space. The traveling merchant in red failed to kill him with one blow, but only removed one of Chi Ziyu's arms. I actually missed it. The traveling merchant in red sounded surprised. Lu Li was anxious, but he couldn't push him. Don't worry, it will definitely work this time. The traveling merchant in red spread his fingers and aimed at Qi Ziyu. Qi Ziyu wanted to escape, but found that several invisible walls seemed to appear out of thin air around him. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break through and leave. You can't escape. The traveling merchant in red chuckled and slowly made a fist with his right hand. Seeing that the power of space is about to overwhelm Qi Ziyu, he suddenly took out a ticket to the secret realm and roared. Lu Li, if I can come out of the secret realm alive, I will kill you. Ha ha ha. The admission ticket bursts into dazzling light instantly. The traveling merchant in red was shocked and wanted to make his fist faster. But in the end it was a step too late. Qi Ziyu disappeared on the spot, leaving only the empty ground. Ran. Ah, I'm sorry, Lu Li, I accidentally let him run away. For the first time, the traveling merchant in red showed an embarrassed look on his face. Lu Li also didn't expect that Qi Ziyu actually carried a ticket to the secret realm. After a moment of silence, he waved to the traveling merchant in red. It's okay, I didn't expect him to have such a backup plan. The red-clothed travel businessman's face was full of reluctance. If it were admission tickets to other secret realms, I might be able to interrupt, but this is the rules secret realm. Lu Li heard this and asked, can you tell what secret realm of rules he has entered? The travel merchant in red nodded. Of course, it's the secret realm of rules Fairy Tale Town. Chapter 89. Fairy Tale Town. Lu Li's eyes lit up. He seems to have a ticket to this secret realm. I bought it from the red-clothed traveling merchant before. And as far as Lu Li knows, Fairy Tale Town is a medium-sized secret realm with rules, and at least 2,000 people are needed to open the ghost story. Qi Ziyu has just entered, so he probably needs to wait for a while. Thinking of this, Lu Li immediately took out the admission ticket from the space ring. After thinking about it, he took out another, super lollipop, and handed it to the red-clothed traveling merchant. Is this for me? The travel businessman in red looked puzzled. But I haven't even completed the service you requested. Lu Li chuckled. Just thank you for coming all the way here. There is an old saying in China, business cannot be achieved without benevolence and righteousness. If there is a chance, I look forward to the next transaction. The traveling merchant in red was stunned for a long time, then grinned and said, okay, I'll give you a discount next time we meet. Aozan on the side saw that Lu Li seemed to be preparing to enter the secret realm, and said worriedly, Lu Li, you don't want to enter the secret realm, do you? You don't even have any talent now. It's so dangerous in the secret realm. Aren't you looking for death? Before Aozan could finish speaking, Lu Li had already used his admission ticket. Hey, I haven't finished speaking yet. Only the traveling merchant in red and Aozan were left at the scene, staring at each other. After a long time, the traveling merchant in red finally spoke quietly. Rare treasures from all over the world, managed with integrity, fair prices, no bully. I wonder if this customer wants to buy or sell. Now entering the secret realm of rules. Name of the secret place, Fairy Tale Town. Limited number of people in the secret realm, at least 2,000, currently 1,995 people. Estimated waiting time is 5 minutes. Should I be teleported to the waiting square in advance? Just in time. Lu Li glanced at the waiting time and did not choose to teleport to the waiting square. It's very safe there though. Under the restrictions of the rules, players waiting in the square are not allowed to attack. You can trade items, buy and sell information, and even form a team in advance. But for Lu Li, none of this was necessary now. Because he wants to clear the secret realm alone and regain his own talent. There is no benefit in showing off. Keeping a low profile is the way to go. The wait is over soon. Lu Li felt his eyes darken, and the smell of grass and earth suddenly entered his nose. The weird rules talk begins. Lu Li reached out and touched the mask that had been put on his face for some time. I have most of the confidence in my heart. Same as in previous life. Once Upon a Time trilogy, the first ghost story. The Big Bad Wolf and the Three Little Pigs. Lu Li looked around and found that he was on a huge grassland. Players wearing piggy masks like him were standing around, and they were communicating in groups at the moment. Lu Li was not in a hurry to look for Qi Ziyu. He just sat cross-legged and waited quietly for the rules to appear. Not long after, stars twinkle in the cartoon-like sky, moving and splicing quickly to form a regular pattern. Every player is welcome to participate in Fairy Tale Town. Please be sure to abide by the following rules and survive to the end as much as possible. The first part of the Once Upon a Time trilogy, The Big Bad Wolf and the Three Little Pigs. 1. The sun has set and the big bad wolf is about to appear. Please hurry up and get back to the house before the big bad wolf eats you. 2. The big bad wolf is a terrifying creature that likes to hunt piglets. They stay up at night and wake up at 12 o'clock in the middle of the night. They usually go to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning. 3. Mother Pig said that pigs have no ability to fight against the big bad wolf. In order to ensure their own safety, the pigs can only build pig houses to keep the big bad wolf out. 4. The space of the pig house is not unlimited. Each house can only accommodate up to 300 piglets. 5. Piglets are safe and harmless companions, but they will keep all aliens outside the pig house. There are only 5 rules, but they contain a lot of information. Luli read it carefully. After discovering that there was no deviation from the previous life, my uneasiness finally came to an end. He got up and prepared to walk along the path to the pig house. Before taking 2 steps, he was stopped by 2 female players also wearing piggy masks. Friend, are you Chinese? Luli kept walking, avoiding the 2 women and replied. Yes, let's form a team. The 2 girls seemed to have seen their savior and spoke quickly. We arrived late and didn't enter the waiting square, so. Luli didn't wait for the 2 of them to finish speaking, and said bluntly. No team. Why? The 2 women said in unison. Isn't it better to have teammates working together than to fight alone? Luli nodded and walked far away. You are right, but my talent is black iron level detection. Are you sure you want to recruit me into the team? Black iron grade investigation. The 2 women looked at each other and saw looks of disgust on each other's faces. I thought he was wearing such beautiful light armor, so what kind of boss could he be? It turned out to be just a waste. He will probably die soon. It's a waste of my feelings. Sister, let's go over there and take a look. With so many people around, there must be someone strong. Good. The 2 girls quickly gave up on Luli and walked in another direction. After that, Luli received several team invitations one after another. But after learning that Luli's talent was black iron quality investigation, no one was willing to team up with him. In order to avoid anyone coming to team up with me again, Luli simply took out a sports sweatshirt from his space ring and put it on to cover his light armor. Then he opened the properties panel and switched to the secret chat channel. Talent investigation, black iron level, no teammates at the moment. Anyone who is interested can come to the road sign for a private chat. The real names of players are not displayed in the secret chat channel and are replaced by numerical numbers. In addition, they all wear piggy masks on their faces, hiding their true appearance. Therefore, Luli was not worried that his speech would be noticed by Chiziyu. The players quickly discovered Luli's message and all looked towards the road sign. Different from the enthusiasm of the 2 women at the beginning, these eyes were full of teasing and ridicule. There were even a few idle foreign Asan players who specially came to Luli and humiliated him with words and actions. Luli naturally didn't care about this. After all, his purpose is to make these players lose interest in him. Only in this way can he better pass the entire strange story of rules alone. Most of the chat channels were full of ridicule. Player number 1414, I think your next fate is likely to be the same as your number. You will die. Ha ha ha, the person upstairs is heartbroken. They are just asking to form a team. There is no need to laugh at them like this, right? Black iron quality investigation, brother, were you kidnapped into this secret realm? Ha ha ha. Player number 1414, although Mr. Sao cannot form a team with you, if you have a wife or daughter who needs care outside the secret realm, Mr. Sao can help. There was only one message, mixed with the torrent of ridicule, passing by in a flash. Luli flipped through the pages and quickly found the message. Player no. 1203. If you really can't find your teammates, you can come to me. I'm under the first tree on the path up the mountain. Luli raised his eyebrows and looked up the mountain along the path. Sure enough, Under the first tree, I saw a figure wearing a pig mask. Lu Li didn't reply and strode straight up the mountain. As the distance got closer, Lu Li could clearly see the figure waiting under the tree. She is a tall blonde woman. A pair of long white legs are particularly eye-catching. Even though Lu Li was a man of 2 generations, he couldn't help but take a second look. Seeing Lu Li approaching, the blonde woman asked in less fluent Chinese. Are you, player number 1414, the Black Iron Reconnaissance with no one forming a team? Lu Li nodded. The blonde woman made an okay gesture. Then we are teammates now. Lu Li was quite curious about the blonde woman's behavior. I want to ask first, why did you choose to team up with me? Don't you think that investigation of black iron quality can play an unexpected role in this secret realm of rules? The blonde took off the rubber band from her wrist and tied her hair back into a long ponytail. She said, of course not, I just bet you might be a little stronger than you look. And I happen to have no teammates, so I need a helper. After saying that, the woman stretched out her right hand in front of Lu Li. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nikita, Nikita the Gambler. Looking at the hands in front of him, Lu Li shook his head and apologized softly. Thank you for your kindness, but I don't actually want to form a team. I'm really sorry. After speaking, Lu Li continued to walk forward. Nikita was stunned in place, forgetting to take back his right hand for a moment. It wasn't until Lu Li disappeared into the woods that she seemed to have just come back to her senses and murmured to herself. Actually, don't you want to form a team? What a strange man. Just as Lu Li was walking towards the mountain, the players on the grass started to set off one after another. The fairy tale of the Big Bad Wolf and the 3 Little Pigs is well known to most players. Even if you haven't heard of it, your teammates have temporarily educated you on it. The main content of the story is that Mother Pig raised 3 little pigs and asked them to build a house each to ward off the Big Bad Wolf. Among them, the pig boss chose to build a house with thatch, which took only 1 day. The second pig chose to build a house with tree branches, and it only took 2 days. But Pig Lao San is the most practical, choosing to build a house with bricks and cement. I was so exhausted every day that it took me 20 full days to build the house. For this reason, both the boss pig and the second pig laughed at the third pig, saying that he did not know how to enjoy life and wasted all his good time on building a house. Zhu Laosan didn't care about this and was just serious about building a house. In the end, the Big Bad Wolf came and blew down the thatched house of the first pig and smashed the tree branch house of the second pig. When it was Pig Lao San's turn to build a cement brick house, the Big Bad Wolf suddenly had no choice. Because it is too strong. The fairy tale itself wants to convey the truth that you should not do things seriously for the sake of simplicity and convenience. But in rules and ghost stories, things might be different. According to the 5 rules provided by the Secret Realm, we should go to the pig house as soon as possible and not think about confronting the Big Bad Wolf. A bald man spoke. He was wearing a well-dressed suit and leather shoes. He seemed to be a professor from a certain university. Professor Huang is right. According to rules 1, 2, and 3, entering the pig house is our only survival plan. And you can't enter the pig house owned by the boss and the second pig. Their houses are not strong enough to withstand the Big Bad Wolf. That's right, that's right. The players all nodded in agreement, thinking that Professor Huang was right. But soon, someone else pointed out the problem. But the rules are very clear. A pig house can only accommodate 300 piglets. How can we squeeze into the third pig's house when there are so many of us? The atmosphere was silent. Maybe it's first come, first served. A girl dressed as a student said tentatively. Hearing this, Chi Ziyu sneered. If it was really first come, first served, there wouldn't be a 5th rule. What do you mean? The female student turned back and looked at the one-armed man behind her. Haven't you ever wondered why each of us wears this thing on our face? Chi Ziyu pointed to the pig mask on his face. Pigs are safe and harmless companions, but they will keep all outsiders out of the pig house. Guess, if you didn't have the mask, would you still be able to enter the pig house? Under the cute pig mask, Chi Ziyu's eyes were filled with a terrifying light. The female student was so frightened by these words that she staggered back and almost fell down. What do you mean by this? Do you want us to kill each other? A man with muscular limbs in the crowd asked back. He seemed to be a companion of the female student and was trying to protect her. Chi Ziyupi looked at the other party with a smile. I didn't say I want everyone to kill each other, I'm just interpreting the rules. By the way, I would like to remind you, those trash with poor talents, to pay attention to protecting the masks on your faces. The muscular man was aroused by Chi Ziyu's words, and suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Yin Yang Wei Chi, let me take off the mask from your face first. The boy rushed towards Chi Ziyu. The opponent only had one arm and his body didn't look strong. The muscular man felt that no matter what, Chi Ziyu should not be his opponent as a college student with sound limbs. However, he ignored a fatal factor: innate abilities. Before the muscular man's hand touched the mask, a sharp long knife penetrated his abdomen first. Blade arm. The muscular man stared blankly at the injury on his stomach and fell to the ground with a plop. Chi Ziyu stepped forward slowly, raised his foot and stomped on the boy's face. The piggy mask and nose bones were shattered at the same time. Before taking action, weigh yourself first. It's rubbish. When the players saw this, none of them dared to say a word. On the contrary, the female student who had been protected by the muscular man suddenly spoke up and said, "This big brother is right. Before taking action, you should weigh your weight first." The boy's already painful face was full of disbelief. The girl he protects doesn't care if she doesn't help him. He even spoke for others in turn. "Xiaohui, why are you? What's wrong with me?" The female college student raised her chin, her whole body filled with disgust for boys. "Do you really think I will like you? If you hadn't been chasing me every day before the disaster, treating me to dinner and shopping to buy bags, I would have dumped you long ago. Don't take a pee or take a photo to see what kind of virtue you have. A pheasant is not worthy of a phoenix. Trash." The boy wanted to speak, but his throat was blocked by blood. He could only watch helplessly as the goddess he once pursued threw herself into the arms of others with a fawning look on her face. Chi Ziyu was not polite and took the female college student in his arms. In the boy's desperate eyes, with hands stained with blood, he kneaded and played with it wantonly. Not only was the female college student not dissatisfied at being played with like a toy, but she even screamed cutely. "He looks completely different from the way he used to dislike boys." She held Chi Ziyu's arm and said flatteringly, "Good brother, my name is Xiaohui. I will take care of you from behind. You can do whatever you want me to do." Chi Ziyu raised the corner of his mouth. "You are quite clever, then follow me." All the players looked sideways, including some with disdain. Several female players pouted on the ground to show their disdain. But no one attacked Chi Ziyu directly like the muscular man did. Everyone understands. The strange story has just begun, so we must preserve our strength. However, just when everyone thought the storm was over, Chi Ziyu suddenly said loudly, "Everyone, the situation is now clear. Only by entering Zhu Laosan's cement brick house can you successfully pass the strange story. The number of places is limited. There are 298 left. Those who want to sign up should act quickly." After saying that, Chi Ziyu smiled even happier. The curve of the corners of his mouth even exceeded the piggy mask, looking extremely arrogant. "Who are you to decide everyone's life and death? Do you really think that if you kill someone, everyone will be afraid of you?" Chi Ziyu looked at the person calling. He asked, "Aren't you afraid?" "Of course. Your innate ability is just that your arm turns into a knife. If you can kill one, can you possibly kill us all?" The speaker raised his arms in the air, trying to arouse the anger in everyone's hearts. But before he could finish his words, a lightning bolt hit him in the face. The person shouting flew upside down and hit the tree trunk hard. "Who told you that I only have one talent?" Chi Ziyu was surrounded by red mist, and his speed suddenly accelerated. Shaking Mountain activates. With the blessing of huge force, he crushed the leg bone of the person who was shouting with one foot. Chi Ziyu did not kill directly, but let the victim scream and howl in pain. He kept moving on his toes and looked at everyone again with a stern look in his eyes. "Now, are you afraid?" The expressions of all the players changed. "If you're not afraid yet, I still have this." As soon as Chi Ziyu finished speaking, a large amount of black mist came out of his body. Hundreds of Mantis Soul soldiers rushed to appear, staring at everyone eagerly. This time, the players were completely convinced. Chi Ziyu is really capable of killing everyone. Boss, I want to sign up. Boss, I don't want to die, please take me with you. The crowd instantly became restless. Chi Ziyu pressed his palm down to signal everyone to be quiet. Then he slowly said, if you want to sign up, young and beautiful ladies will be given priority. As soon as these words came out, many male players froze. But I can only keep my dissatisfaction in my heart and dare not speak out. There are still a few players who know that there is no hope of joining Chi Ziyu, so they simply leave the army early and walk towards the mountain. Chi Ziyu did not stop these variables. In his eyes, these people are like ants that can be crushed to death at any time, not worthy of attention. The 300 spots were quickly filled. They are Chi Ziyu and the remaining 299 young and beautiful female players. Despite this, many female players are still excluded. At this moment, Chi Ziyu was surrounded and begging. Some people even took off their clothes and sacrificed themselves on the spot in order to compete for a spot. The scene was extremely lewd. Chi Ziyu didn't stop him either. Anyway, his purpose is to use these female players to strengthen himself. Collect yin and replenish yang. Activate. Chi Ziyu was like a fish swimming in the sea of beauty. At the same time, Lu Li, who had set off early, had already crossed the previous thatched hut and tree hut and found the third pig house. Looking at the solid house made of bricks and cement, Lu Li had no intention of entering. Memories come to mind. In his previous life, he had avoided the attack of the big bad wolf in this room and successfully passed the first strange story about the rules. At that time, Lu Li, like everyone else, believed that hiding in Zhu Lao San's house was the safest option. But in fact, it's not. There is another way to clear the strange story, the big bad wolf and the 3 little pigs. Find the 4th pig house. The clue is hidden in Rule 3. Mother Pig said that pigs have no ability to fight against the big bad wolf. In order to ensure their own safety, the pigs can only build pig houses to keep the big bad wolf out. The 3 little pigs can build a pig house to ensure their own safety. Mummy Pig can do the same. Most players didn't expect this, and they all squeezed in to grab the 3rd pig house. As everyone knows, the 4th pig house hidden at the end of the path is the safest safe zone. The only thing to note is that you have to arrive before midnight. Lu Li set off very early and had more than enough time. Only Mother Pig's pig house is suitable for a little pig like him who has no natural ability. Seeing no one around, Lu Li didn't stop much. Continue up the mountain along the path. Not long after Lu Li went up the mountain, the grass on the side of the path shook, and a blonde woman suddenly emerged. Nikita looked at the pig house on the roadside and then at the direction where Lu Li disappeared, feeling confused. Why didn't 1414 enter the 3rd pig house and continue walking up the mountain? Doesn't he know the backstory of the 3 little pigs? Nikita thought for a moment and found it impossible. If player 1414 really doesn't know the background story of the 3 little pigs, he should choose to follow the large army instead of venturing out alone. Is there any other way to clear the level? Nikita opened the data panel and checked the time in the secret realm. There is still an hour until midnight. You can take a gamble. Follow along and take a look. If 1414 can really find another way to clear the level, I won't need to compete with other players for room. Maybe you can even get a special reward. Thinking of this, Nikita, who was addicted to gambling, did not hesitate and followed him with his long legs. After passing the 3rd pig house, the road up the mountain becomes much narrower. Lush weeds almost cover the path. It seemed like no one had passed by for a long time. If Nikita hadn't followed closely and could still see Lu Li's back from time to time, he would have given up long ago. But the further up he went, the more panic Nikita felt. Because the vegetation along the way is getting denser and denser. Dark, dead silence. A feeling of deviating from the main line arises spontaneously. After following for nearly half an hour, Nikita decided to give up. I can't mess around with him anymore, I want to go back. At this moment, as long as she returns the same way, she can still return to Zhu Lao San's house before 12 o'clock. But just when Nikita was about to turn back, she suddenly realized that something was wrong. She couldn't find the way she came. The vegetation is too dense. The road down the mountain is gone. Nikita's heart instantly sank to the bottom. Looking further up the mountain, Luli's figure has disappeared. A terrible thought came to Nikita's mind. She's lost. Lost in a secret realm of rules where scary monsters are about to appear. What to do? There was silence all around, and Nikita could even hear her heart beating wildly. A huge feeling of helplessness instantly enveloped my whole body. At this moment, Nikita regretted her reckless decision. Anyone there? Nikita tried to shout. No one responded. That, Black Iron Detective, I can't find the way. Can you help me? Nikita shouted with all his strength. But still no response. It was as if she was the only player left on the entire mountain. By the way, data panel. You can send a message to 1414 in the secret realm chat interface. It was as if I had grasped a life-saving straw. Nikita quickly opened the chat interface and sent a separate message to Luli. 1414, I apologize for my stalking behavior, but I'm lost now, can you help me? When the news came out, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. Luli said goodbye and didn't even send a punctuation mark. Please 1414, I really know I was wrong. If you don't come to me, I will die on the mountain. Nikita sent another. Still no reply. Nikita gritted her teeth and entered the third message. She was actually desperate. The reason is simple. Put yourself in someone else's shoes. If she was being followed at this moment, would she in turn rescue the stalker? The answer is obviously no. She wished the stalker would get lost. As long as player No 1414 is thinking normally, he will not show up to save her. But even so, Nikita sent a third message. I hope he is a normal man. However, as soon as the news was sent out, the grass around Nikita shook. The sudden movement scared the long-legged beauty to the ground. Luli emerged from the grass, his eyes still fixed on the chat interface he had just opened. He looked at Nikita and then at the message he had just received. Then, he read it word for word. If you can come and save me, I'll be willing to trade it for the first time after we get out of the secret realm. Nikita's skin quickly turned red, like a ripe shrimp. Sounds like a good deal. Luli looked at the long-legged beauty with a half-smile. Nikita, on the other hand, was so embarrassed that she wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl into it. After a long while, she said in a voice like a mosquito. You have to wait until you leave the secret realm before you can. Okay, come along. Luli didn't say anything more, just urging Nikita to speed up. The main reason why Luli came back to save this long-legged beauty was because he was worried that she would attract other players. If Nikita keeps calling for help halfway up the mountain, he will easily attract players who have already reached the third pig house. By then, the fourth pig house will definitely be exposed. If Chiziyu discovers it, Luli's own safety will not be guaranteed either. Now we are teammates for the time being. Don't reveal the situation here to anyone. I will guide you through the strange story. Luli warned Nikita without looking back. Okay. Nikita nodded obediently. The feeling of surviving the disaster made her favor Luli. The tense mood suddenly relaxed a lot. When people relax, they talk more. Since we are teammates now, you should tell me your name, right? No need, just call me my number, 1414. Oh, then 1414, where are we going now? The fourth pig house. Aren't there only 3 pig houses? We'll find out when we get there. Oh, okay, why don't you tell me your name? I already told you that my name is Nikita. Quote. Let's face it, I don't want to give it to a man whose name I don't even know when I go out. Luli stopped and looked at Nikita with a look that was clearly annoyed. My name is Light Monster. Shut your mouth from now on, or I will leave you in the mountains. Okay, Mr. Light Monster. Nikita made a zipper movement around her mouth, and sure enough she stopped talking. There are 5 minutes until midnight. Luli and Nikita finally arrived at the fourth pig house. Different from the previous 3 pig houses. The fourth pig house is not made of traditional building materials. Not thatch branches, not bricks and mortar either. But thick bones. Ferocious skulls with long fangs were piled around the house, forming a small low wall. All are the bones of the big bad wolf. Luli took a deep breath. It is indeed the safest safe zone. The strong pig mother is so terrifying. When Nikita saw the pig house in front of her, her mouth opened wide in shock. But she soon became worried. Guangguai, if you build a house with bones, will this house be strong? Luli rolled his eyes at Nikita. He didn't know whether it was strong or not. But safety is absolute. After all, no big bad wolf in his right mind would have any idea about a house made entirely of wolf bones. Any wolf with ideas will probably be built into the house by Mother Pig. Let's go in, remember not to take off your mask. Luli reminded him and walked towards the pig house first. Gently knocking on the door knocker made of the big bad wolf's mandible, Luli took half a step back. The door opens. A very oppressive figure appeared behind the door. Mummy Pig appeared in front of the two of them, holding a cigar in her mouth, carrying a chainsaw on her shoulder, wearing 4 pairs of bras, and with exploding muscles. She squinted her eyes, seeming to carefully examine the mask on Luli's face. After a long time, he spoke in a loud voice. "Two poor little things, come inside and hide." Luli and Nikita didn't dare to make any unnecessary moves. They nodded repeatedly and entered the pig house. Compared with the terrifying darkness outside, the inside of the pig house seemed much warmer and brighter. The fire in the fireplace was burning brightly, the soup was boiling in the pot, and the aroma of meat was wafting out. Although Mummy Pig looks rough, she still conforms to the characteristics of a pig, in essence. That is Rule 5. Pigs are safe and harmless companions, but they will keep all aliens out of the pig house. That is to say, as long as Luli and Nikita didn't take off their masks, they could spend the night safely in the pig house. Not only that, Mother Pig also took out 2 bowls of broth from the pot and brought them to the two of them enthusiastically. "You two must be starving. This is freshly cooked wolf soup. Take a sip to warm yourself up. Wolf broth, there won't be any problem." Luli was wary. After all, it was his first time to spend the night in the 4th pig house. "I have never experienced the plot of drinking broth." However, before Luli could make further verification, Nikita beside him could not wait to pick up the soup bowl. Just a few gurgles were heard, and the entire bowl of soup was drank clean. Nikita let out a satisfied sigh. But the next second, she screamed. "What's wrong? There's something wrong with the soup," Luli asked in a suppressed voice. Nikita shook his head first, then nodded. After hesitating for a long time, she finally said, This soup can increase attribute points. My physique just increased by 10 points. Really?" Luli was surprised, picked up the bowl and took a sip. Sure enough, as Nikita said, the constitution points increased by 2 points. Drinking them all will indeed add 10 points. Just when Luli and Nikita were pleasantly surprised by this unexpected harvest, other players face completely different situations. Halfway up the mountain, outside the 3 pig houses, the paths along the way were littered with corpses. Most of them were killed by Chiziyu. The remaining small part of the body was covered with ferocious bite marks. Whenever a strange and twisted shadow flashes between the trees, several corpses on the ground will disappear inexplicably. The sound of chewing is like the chirping of cicadas on a summer night, rising and falling in the dark mountains. Inside the thatched house of the pig boss, 300 players huddled together and cursed Chiziyu. The terrifying noises coming from outside the house from time to time make these players feel on pins and needles. If they could choose again, they would probably be beaten to death and they would not choose to enter this secret realm of rules. Dong dong dong. A rapid knock on the door suddenly sounded, startling the players in the room. The wolf is coming. Before they could react, the entire thatched house collapsed instantly. Twisted shadows plunged into the crowd, and the players fled in all directions. Despite knowing that all the pig houses are full, but driven by survival instinct, most players still ran towards the mountains. The twisted shadow is in no hurry. They harvest every life at their own pace, ensuring that no one is left behind. The player who was lucky enough to escape quickly came to the 2nd pig house. "Open the door quickly. The monster is coming. Open the door. Let us in." They pounded on the door in despair. But how could the player in the pig house open it? "This place has been full for a long time, it's not like you didn't know it." "Stop knocking, you're all going to die anyway, don't attract the big bad wolf here. Don't blame us for being cruel. If you want to blame us, just blame Chiziyu. Yes, if you open the door, everyone will be dead, and we don't want to die either." When the players outside the door heard this, their already tense nerves completely collapsed. "Since you won't open it, let's die together. Many players started banging on the door. Some players even used their talents to directly destroy Zulauer's tree branch house. The twig pig house is crumbling. When a few players saw this, they simply continued running towards the mountain. Even knowing that the third pig house is full. Even if he knew Chiziyu would not open the door no matter what. But under the threat of death, even if you can live for one more second, these players will choose to continue running away without hesitation. Soon, the twisted shadows reached the second pig house. Compared with the beginning, Shadow's figure has obviously expanded. And the number has doubled several times. They formed a scattered circle and moved closer to the door of the pig house. The sounds of wailing, begging for mercy, and yelling suddenly stopped. Instead, there were waves of scalp-numbing chewing sounds. Just when the players in the room were temporarily relieved. Dong dong dong. A rapid knock on the door suddenly sounded. These short-lived ghosts are really a scam. What should I do? The tree house may not be able to withstand it. Panic quickly spread in the pig house. Why don't we all go out together and fight the big bad wolf? One player suggested. You're stupid. Didn't you read the rules carefully? Rule 3 clearly states, the pig has no ability to fight against the big bad wolf. In order to ensure its own safety, the pig can only build a pig house and keep the big bad wolf out. We are all pigs now, there is no way we can deal with the big bad wolf. But, suggested that the player want to say something else. But the tremor that followed made him hold back the words that came to his lips. Bang! The whole treehouse was shaking. Bang! Broken branches had begun to fall from the ceiling. Bang! The walls were cracked, and the cold wind from outside was pouring into the house. It's going to collapse. Everyone, run. I don't know who shouted. The previously calm players were completely in chaos. Pushed and stamped on, they rushed outside the house. The twisted black shadow is just like before, easily harvesting the player's life. Take your time. Some players still escaped temporarily and ran towards the third pig house on the mountain. These players have all seen Chiziyu's methods and know that he is not easy to mess with. So I didn't bang on the door and yell. But he kept pleading. I hope Chiziyu can take action and use his powerful talents to save them. Chiziyu leaned on the chair. He was surrounded by carefully selected beauties, rubbing shoulders and legs for him. At his request, these women were already naked. Paired with the mask on his face, he looks very similar to a pig. Hearing the pleading outside the door, Xiaohui, a female college student who was busy under Chiziyu, suddenly raised her head and asked as if she was worried. Brother Ziyu, you won't be soft-hearted and let them in, will you? Chiziyu smiled contemptuously. Don't worry, it won't happen. Just concentrate. After that, he pressed Xiaohui's head down again. While enjoying the beauty's service, he took the teacup next to him and drank the tea in one gulp. This is Zhu Laosan's tea, 3 cups in total. Each cup can increase 1 point of spiritual value. Now, naturally everything went into Chi Ziyu's stomach. After drinking, Chi Ziyu threw the teacup away. Immediately, many female players rushed to grab it. Even get into a fight. They stuck out their tongues, trying to lick as much of the remaining tea in the cup as possible. Chi Ziyu looked at the scene of everyone fighting for it and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It's great to be powerful. So what if Lu Li is number 1 on the level list? In the end, he didn't take away his talent. Although it cost me an arm. But what they got in exchange was a cheating life experience. Value. I don't know what Lu Li is doing now, maybe he is hiding in a corner crying, haha. The swelling in his heart and the stimulation coming from underneath him made Chiziyu couldn't help but shiver. Comfortable. Xiaohui wiped the corners of her mouth and looked up again. Brother Ziyu, I suddenly had an idea just now. Chiziyu, who was in a good mood, glanced at the female college student and said casually. What do you think? Tell me. Rule 3. Xiaohui looked thoughtful. Since we can only be treated as pigs and enter the pig house when we wear masks, does that mean that after we take off the masks, we can fight against the big bad wolf? What do you mean? Chi Ziyu frowned. Do you want me to take off my mask and save the players outside? Of course not. Xiaohui shook her head like a rattle. Those lives are worthless and not worth Brother Ziyu's action. What I mean is, if you can kill the big bad wolf and obtain wolf meat, Brother Ziyu's strength can go even further. Indeed. Chi Ziyu relaxed his brows. I heard from Zhu Lao-san that his mother once stewed wolf meat soup for him. I guess wolf meat is like Zhu Lao-san's tea. It can increase attribute points. Speaking of this, the players in the room all thought that Chi Ziyu was ready to take action. Unexpectedly, he changed the topic and his whole face darkened. But what if after taking off the mask, the big bad wolf is still unable to be harmed? Chi Ziyu suddenly took action and grabbed Xiaohui's neck. Are you trying to plot against me? Let me die in vain. Xiaohui shook her head hurriedly. No, brother Ziyu, I have a way to verify this guess. You don't need to try it yourself. Chi Ziyu threw Xiaohui to the ground with one hand, and coldly snorted. Say, if you can't tell me, I'll kill you right away. It's no wonder Chi Ziyu had such a big reaction. He is timid by nature. After acquiring Lu Li's powerful natural ability, his strength skyrocketed too quickly. Chi Ziyu instinctively felt unconfident. So whenever there is any disturbance, he will be very nervous. Xiaohui coughed for a while before speaking. Let the players outside the house take off their masks. They can't enter the house anyway. As long as there is a way to survive, they will definitely try it. I have to say that Xiaohui's method is indeed wonderful. Just by talking, you can use other people's lives to verify your conjecture. If the guess is wrong, Chi Ziyu and others would not suffer any loss if they stayed in the pig house. Just do as you say. Chi Ziyu thought for a moment and nodded. Xiaohui quickly squeezed towards the door and shouted to the players outside. If you take off your mask, you might be able to cause harm to the big bad wolf. Working together, maybe we can kill the big bad wolf. When the players outside the door heard this, they didn't intend to listen at first. But when the shadows closed in, they had no choice. We're all going to die anyway, let's fight. Someone pulled the mask off his face. Soon, shouts of surprise sounded. This method really works. After I took off the mask, those shadows all turned into physical wolves. The attack worked. I defeated the big bad wolf. I killed one. The big bad wolf can be killed. Everyone come together and kill all the wolves, then we can live. The players who were in desperate situations saw hope, and they were all motivated to fight. However, there are too many big bad wolves. Even if the players outside the door exerted 120% of their combat power, they would still be defeated. The number of players is getting smaller and smaller. At this time, the pig house door suddenly opened. Chi Ziyu, shrouded in black mist, strode out and gently took off the mask on his face. Let me save you, you bunch of losers. Mother Pig saw Lu Li and Nikita finishing their soup and asked. How's it going? Doesn't this soup taste good? Lu Li and Nikita nodded repeatedly. It's past 12 o'clock now, and I guess there won't be any more piglets coming. If you like this soup, you can drink it all, said Mummy Pig. Really? Lu Li and Nikita's eyes were filled with joy. Of course, Mummy Pig smoked her cigar, looking very relaxed. But Mother doesn't like little piglets who get something for nothing. If you have something to exchange, Mother will be very happy. I wonder what Mom likes? Lu Li asked tentatively. Although the props in his hand are not many, they are not few compared to ordinary players. Exchange props for broth that permanently increases your constitution points. This deal can be negotiated. Mummy Pig pondered for a moment, a little embarrassed. Mom is very easygoing and can do anything. If it's food, that's better. Well, the more delicious the food, the better. Speaking of the latter part, Mother Pig drooled from the corner of her mouth. Food. Lu Li and Nikita were startled at the same time. The former is because there are too many foods in the space ring and I don't know which one to choose. As for the latter, it was because he didn't bring any food with him at all, and he only had half a pack of leftover red sausage. We each have half of the broth, and each of us can bring out food to exchange for it. Lu Li didn't know Nikita's predicament, so he casually took out a large box of high-end chocolates from the space ring. After thinking about it, it seems that it is not enough. He simply took out 2 bottles of high-end red wine, 4 smoked beef legs and a whole bluefin tuna from the ring. Although the value of these things together is less than 1/10,000th of the inventory in Lu Li's ring. But the best thing is the large quantity and delicious taste. Looking at the good things on the table, Mummy Pig's eyes widened. She wiggled her pig's nose and sniffed the cow leg with a satisfied expression on her face. Good boy, Mother is very satisfied. This pot of broth is yours. As soon as he said this, Nikita quietly stuffed half the package of red sausage back into his pocket. Although she would have loved to have had half of the broth as well. But instead of taking out half a pack of red sausage, the sharp contrast with Luli's luxurious food made Mother Pig angry. It's better to pretend there is no food. This way, you can at least get some goodwill from Mummy Pig. Mummy Pig didn't care, but Luli was a little strange. Didn't we agree that each person should get half the broth? You didn't bring any food with you. Nikita was upset that she had not brought any food and had lost the broth. After hearing Luli's question, he immediately took out half a pack of red sausage angrily and threw it into Luli's arms. This is all I have, so don't be embarrassed. Luli looked at the red sausage in his hand and couldn't laugh or cry. Without saying any more, he prepared to put the whole pot of wolf broth into the space ring and take it out to drink slowly. Just when Luli was picking up the pot and preparing to pack it, he suddenly found a line of small writing on the edge of the pot. Not a rule, more like some kind of hidden tip. I would like to use this pot to commemorate the eternal friendship between Mummy Pig and the hunter. Hunter. Luli was startled, and some of the joints that he had been unable to figure out gradually became clear. Seeing Luli holding the pot in a daze, Nikita came over curiously. Seeing the small words on the edge of the pot, she said strangely. Hunter. I don't remember a hunter appearing in the story of the big bad wolf and the three little pigs. It's definitely not from this story. Luli explained while packing the broth. The regular ghost story fairy tale town is divided into 3 parts. The hints above may be related to the next ghost story. Luli raised his head and asked Mother Pig, Mom, do you have a good relationship with the hunter? Of course. Mother Pig nodded. Apart from this pot, the chainsaw was also given to me by the hunter. As expected, Luli understood. According to Rule 3, pigs have no power against the big bad wolf. But Mummy Pig is also a pig, but she can kill the big bad wolf and build a house from its bones. Contrary to the rules, there must be a reason. Now it seems that the reason lies in the chainsaw given by the hunter. That is a special item that can easily kill the big bad wolf. If you can get this item, you might be able to tell a strange story and pass the level in a faster way. Thinking of this, Luli said directly, Mom, do you sell your chainsaw? As soon as these words came out, Mummy Pig and Nikita were stunned at the same time. Nikita looked at Luli as if he were a madman, tugged at the corner of his clothes, and said in a low voice. What are you doing? Are you drunk after drinking some wolf soup? Don't anger Mummy Pig. Luli's expression remained as usual, his eyes extremely serious. Mom, I really like this chainsaw. If you can't sell it, you can lend it to me for a few days. The surprise on Mummy Pig's face slowly faded, and she took a deep breath of her cigar. It's definitely not possible to sell it to you. This was given to me by a hunter. It's of great significance. It's okay to lend it to you for a few days, but... A flash of shrewdness flashed in Mummy Pig's eyes. Little piggy, in order to prevent you from running away with the chainsaw, you have to use props of equal value as collateral. Luli smiled bitterly in his heart. He really had no intention of paying it back. But now that Mother Pig has spoken, he can no longer negotiate terms. Okay, I'll use this prop as collateral. While speaking, Luli took out the worm-toothed dagger from the space ring. Mummy Pig took it, glanced at it casually, nodded and said, growth props are rare and worth enough to be used as collateral. Just take the chainsaw and don't break it. Thank you, Mom. Luli thanked him, stood up, and put the chainsaw into the space ring. The whole process went smoothly, and Nikita was stunned for a moment. He actually let Luli get the chainsaw. Can you still play like this in the rules secret realm? Nikita doesn't know yet how the chainsaw will help with the strange story that follows. But one thing she was sure of. This prop is definitely very powerful. Ordinary players will definitely not be able to provide collateral of equal value. Luli, on the other hand, took a dagger and replaced it with a chainsaw. What does that mean? This means that Luli's family background is frighteningly rich. For a player with such a strong family background, his natural ability is only black iron level investigation. No matter how you look at it, there is a problem. What is the origin of this Chinese man named Guangguai? Nikita thought to herself. She felt that after leaving the secret realm, She needed to report what happened here to her father. The night is long. After enjoying the food provided by Luli, Mummy Pig soon started snoring on the sofa. Looking at her like that, it seemed like she was not prepared to guard against the big bad wolf at all. Luli and Nikita also curled up on the sofa, getting ready to sleep. Nikita actually wanted to chat, but Luli had no interest at all. No matter how she asked, she always got a perfunctory answer. In the end, Luli simply closed his eyes and pretended to sleep, which made Nikita very depressed. Really bored, Nikita had to open the data panel to see if there were any comments from other players in the chat interface. It would be better not to look at it. As soon as he opened the secret chat interface, Nikita almost jumped up from the sofa in shock. The screen is full of messages, all at 1203 and 1414. That is, Nikita and Luli. 1203 and 1414, are you still alive? Where are you now? Apart from Pig House, is there any other place to hide from the big bad wolf? 1203 and 1414, call back immediately. Brother Chi Ziyu asked you to reply. Are you all dead? I don't know where I'm hiding. I must have gotten a lot of benefits secretly, right? If you don't share the information you have, you two are selfish ghosts who only know how to survive. Nikita originally wanted to reply, but seeing that the messages she received were getting more and more unfriendly, she retracted her hand from the data panel. Why should I share information with you? When you were fighting for the pig house, why didn't you consider giving it to others? Nikita rolled his eyes wide and said to himself, although she didn't see the players fighting for the pig house with her own eyes. But she will scroll forward in the chat history and check the players' survival status. Most of the players who sent distress messages to Chiziyu have died. The few who were still alive had no sound. After flipping through it for a while, Nikita found it boring and did not reply. He closed the chat interface and closed his eyes to sleep. When she woke up again, it was already the next morning. The first rule is weird, passed easily. Luli, who had woken up at some point, was opening the data panel and looking at something. Seeing Nikita wake up, he pointed to the milk and bread on the table. Just take 2 bites, and after an hour, move on to the next weird story. Mummy Pig also prepared breakfast. Nikita ate her breakfast and felt in great spirits. Although it sounds incredible, she had the best sleep last night. I prepared it, Luli said calmly. Because of the weird stories that follow, you may not have a chance to eat. Huh, Nikita stopped chewing. What's the next strange rule? Is it dangerous? It's Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf. Luli closed the data panel. It's all on the panel. You can take a look while you're having breakfast. You need to choose your camp. Nikita nodded and opened the data panel. As Luli said, there is indeed a detailed introduction to the second rule, Weird Tales, above. Congratulations to all the players for successfully surviving. The second part of the Once Upon a Time trilogy, Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf, will begin in 1 hour. Before the ghost story begins, all players must choose their own camp. There are 3 types of camps: Big Bad Wolf Camp, Little Red Riding Hood Camp, and Hunter Camp. Big Bad Wolf Code 1. The Big Bad Wolf has powerful strength and agile speed. It is the most terrifying creature in the forest. We are invincible. 2. No one can see through the disguise of the Big Bad Wolf. 3. Remember, the Big Bad Wolf cannot be overly hungry, otherwise it will involuntarily let out a hungry wolf howl. 4. Little Red Riding Hood is so cute, so the Big Bad Wolf must eat her. Killing Little Red Riding Hood is the ultimate goal of every Big Bad Wolf. 5. Never try to fight against a hunter, otherwise you will end up turning into a wolfskin carpet. 6. Do not launch sneak attacks on the road without any cover. Doing so will not only allow Little Red Riding Hood to escape, but may also attract the attention of hunters. Instructions for Little Red Riding Hood. 1. Little Red Riding Hood is a cute little girl, smart and clever, but she can't fight against the Big Bad Wolf. When you encounter the Big Bad Wolf, don't hesitate, run. 2. The hunter is Little Red Riding Hood's good friend. With him, Little Red Riding Hood will be safe. 3. Little Red Riding Hood must arrive at her grandmother's house before the sun sets, because dark nights are particularly dangerous for little girls. Hunter's notes. 1. Hunters are great, and hunters with guns are great. But if Little Red Riding Hood dies, the hunter will die of grief. 2. Hunters want to hunt. The big bad wolf is the best hunting target. Kill them all and make them into wolfskin carpets. 3. Little Red Riding Hood is a good boy. The hunter must protect Little Red Riding Hood's safety, but at the same time, he must not delay hunting. 4. The hunter can only enter Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother's house after the moon rises. 5. The hunter is very experienced. As long as he hears the howl of a wolf, he can accurately locate the hungry wolf. After reading the introduction, Nikita stuffed a mouthful of bread into her mouth. It doesn't look dangerous either. I remember that in the original fairy tale, Little Red Riding Hood seemed to be rescued from the wolf's belly by the hunter in the end. Even the disemboweled big bad wolf seemed to have escaped alive in the end. At best, it's a near miss. But this is not the original fairy tale, but a secret realm of rules. Lu Li reminded. In the original fairy tale of The Big Bad Wolf and the Three Little Pigs, no one died. But look, how many players are still alive now? Ah, okay. Nikita scratched his head. In fact, according to Nikita's own thoughts, she would choose the Big Bad Wolf camp. After all, judging from the rules, the goal of the Big Bad Wolf camp is simple. Just eat Little Red Riding Hood. In the original fairy tale, the Big Bad Wolf pretended to be Grandma and actually ate Little Red Riding Hood. And according to Article 2 of the Big Bad Wolf Code, no one can see through the Big Bad Wolf's disguise. It also supports the plot development of the original fairy tale from the side. Corresponding, the Little Red Riding Hood and Hunter camps appear very passive. Both have tasks that must be completed. Little Red Riding Hood must reach her grandmother's house before the sun sets. The hunter must protect Little Red Riding Hood without delaying the hunt. But not the Big Bad Wolf. Although there is the ultimate goal of eating Little Red Riding Hood, it is not a task that must be completed. Moreover, the Big Bad Wolf can sneak up on Little Red Riding Hood on the road at any time. If you really can't find the opportunity, there is a must-have plot of pretending to be Grandma at the end. Look at other camps. The Little Red Riding Hood camp faces the threat of death at any time. Although the hunter camp does not need to be afraid of the Big Bad Wolf. But it is bound to the Little Red Riding Hood camp. If Little Red Riding Hood dies, the hunter will also die of grief. So there is also a very high probability of death. But these are Nikita's own judgments after all. She wanted to hear what advice this mysterious Chinese man in front of her would give. Then which camp should I choose? Facing Nikita's question, Lu Li answered without hesitation. Hunter camp. Why? Nikita's eyes flashed with curiosity. Because it's the safest. Lu Li briefly analyzed. Little Red Riding Hood is at risk of being eaten, and the Big Bad Wolf is at risk of being shot. But the hunter didn't. According to Article 5 of the Wolf Code, the wolf cannot fight against the hunter. As a friendly camp, Little Red Riding Hood is even less likely to harm the hunter. So the hunter camp is almost invincible in this weird story. After swallowing the last bite of bread, Nikita said in confusion. But if Little Red Riding Hood dies, the hunter will also die of grief. How can we say it is the safest? Because I chose the Little Red Riding Hood camp. What? Nikita spurted out half of the milk she had just finished drinking. Lu Li calmly took out a tissue from the ring and wiped his face. Are you crazy? Have you forgotten what your talent is? Black iron grade reconnaissance. Lu Li smiled. I haven't forgotten it. Then you still choose the Little Red Riding Hood camp. Nikita rubbed his messy blonde hair. I have Mummy Pig's chainsaw. Nikita was stunned for a moment, and a hint of understanding rose in his eyes. But after checking the camp selection results, she started to panic again. Only Lu Li chose the Little Red Riding Hood camp. The others are all big bad wolves. More than 300 big bad wolves. Little Red Riding Hood stared at Lu Li with eager eyes. Can he withstand it? If you have a chainsaw, you should also choose the Big Bad Wolf camp. That has the highest survival rate. Nikita whined in distress. Lu Li was too lazy to continue explaining, so he added. If you believe me, choose the hunter. If you don't believe me, choose the Big Bad Wolf. Nikita looked at the number of people in the hunter camp. Sure enough, it was 0. If I choose hunter, I will have to fight with that man against more than 300 Big Bad Wolf players. Nikita's heart raced. If you were an ordinary person, you would probably choose the big bad wolf camp at this moment to save your life. But Nikita is no ordinary person. She is a total gambler. The last strange story was that she followed Lu Li, and not only did she not encounter any danger, she also drank wolf broth that could increase her physical strength by 10 points. This time, choosing a camp, she decided to take another gamble. It's up to you. Choose the hunter camp. Nikita pointed her fingers together and determined her camp on the interface. All player camps have been selected and relevant props are now being distributed. Do you confirm receipt? Outside the third pig house, players who were already waiting impatiently heard the prompt and quickly opened the data panel to confirm receiving the props. The light flashed, and a tube of potion appeared in everyone's hands. Item name: Werewolf Potion, Secret Realm Limited. Quality: excellent. Function description: drinking this mixture can transform into a powerful werewolf form. It will automatically expire after leaving the secret realm. L note: we are invincible. Ah woo. It seems that after drinking this, you can start hunting Little Red Riding Hood. Chi Ziyu squinted at the potion in his hand and ordered to Xiaohui. Drink it first and see the effect. Ah, Xiaohui's face was full of resistance. Brother Ziyu, why don't you let others try it first? Xiaohui is afraid. The girls cast contemptuous glances at Xiaohui. Are you afraid? Green tea girl, Chi Ziyu sneered. What are you afraid of? Everyone wants to drink, so you give everyone a sample first. After all, it doesn't matter whether Xiaohui answers or not. Chi Ziyu directly grabbed the potion and poured it into the female college student's mouth. It only takes a moment. Xiao Wei grew a lot of gray hair and turned into a werewolf. So ugly. Chi Ziyu frowned slightly. Although it doesn't look great, it does look much better than before. Brother Ziyu, I feel full of strength all over my body. The werewolf Xiao Wei looked at her furry paws and was very excited. It would have been better not to speak. This makes a sound. The artificial clip sound combined with the ugly appearance made all the players, including Chi Ziyu, tremble violently. It's so against the rules. Can you still use your talent? Chi Ziyu suppressed his nausea and asked. Werewolf Xiaohui nodded. Yes. And the natural ability seems to be stronger than before. Oh, Chi Ziyu's eyes lit up. Werewolf Potion also has the effect of enhancing natural abilities. When the players heard this, they immediately understood and flattered Chi Ziyu one after another. After turning into a werewolf, your natural abilities become stronger. Then isn't Mr. Chi Ziyu invincible? Look what you said. Mr. Chi Ziyu was already invincible, but after drinking the potion, he became even more awesome. Hey, how can the Little Red Riding Hood camp and the Hunter camp win? I'm really worried for them. Haha, those two fools probably don't know that they are already dead. Chi Ziyu suppressed the rising corners of his mouth and pretended to be calm. Okay, everyone, hurry up and drink the potion. The sooner we kill Little Red Riding Hood, the sooner we can clear the story. Everyone drank the potion one after another. Soon, more than 300 werewolves appeared in the clearing. The werewolf camp is ready and is being transferred. All player camps have been selected and relevant props are now being distributed. Do you confirm receipt? Confirm. The light flashed, and an exaggerated double-barrel shotgun appeared in Nikita's hand. Item name: Double-barreled shotgun, Secret Realm Limited. Quality: excellent. Function description: cause a fatal blow to wolf-shaped creatures, automatically recover props after leaving the secret realm. Note: the price of wolf skin carpets has increased again. I'm starting to like the hunter camp. Nikita played with the shotgun repeatedly, and from time to time made a gesture of shooting the gun. Lu Li also received camp props. But compared to Nikita's excitement, the expression on his face was slightly painful. Props name: Little Red Riding Hood's cloak. Quality: inferior. Function description: it will be very cute when worn. Remarks: don't doubt it, this is an ordinary women's cloak, and it's a hot one. Women's clothing can only be worn once and countless times. It's okay if the props don't have any special functions. Lu Li didn't have much hope anyway. But, what does this remark TMD mean? And it's also a fun style. Is this cloak serious? Resisting the urge to throw the cloak to the ground, Lu Li gritted his teeth and put it on his body. It fits pretty well. Nikita saw Lu Li put on his cloak and exclaimed. Oh my god, you must be Little Red Riding Hood herself. So cute. Lu Li's face was filled with black lines. Get started when you're ready and stay in touch. Nikita smiled and nodded. Don't worry, for the sake of my own life, I will do my best to protect you. A prompt sounded. The hunter camp is ready and is being transferred. Little Red Riding Hood's camp is ready and is being transferred. After a period of dizziness, Lu Li opened his eyes and found that he was in an old wooden house. Standing in front of him was a village woman, tying up the package in her hands. No need to think, this must be Little Red Riding Hood's mother. Little Red Riding Hood, the package is bread and wine. You can help mother deliver it to the sick grandma. The woman tied up the package and handed it to Lu Li. Don't be playful along the way. It must be delivered before the sun sets. Also, don't take the densely forested paths, try to take the broad roads. Okay, Lu Li responded. However, he did not leave the wooden house immediately. Instead, he reached for the space ring and took out the chainsaw. Seeing that it could be used, he was completely relieved. I'm going out. The other end. Werewolf camp. Under Chi Ziyu's arrangement, all the players were in ambush. Not only were the werewolf players crowded near the path, but there were also people squatting around the main road. Not for sneak attacks, just to monitor the location of Little Red Riding Hood in real time. Because there is only one Little Red Riding Hood, Chi Ziyu has given the order in order to maximize his personal rewards. All werewolf players are not allowed to kill Little Red Riding Hood. Once the whereabouts are discovered, take control immediately and report to him. There are quite a few complaints among the players. But due to Chi Ziyu's strong strength, he could only do as he was told. Zhongqi and Zhongling's ambush location was at the exit of the town. It's closest to Lu Li's starting point. Not long after the two women squatted down, they saw a figure in a red cloak walking slowly from the street in the distance. Sister, Little Red Riding Hood is here. Zhongling shouted in a suppressed voice. It's pretty fast. Sister, let's go up together later, grab Little Red Riding Hood and send it to Chi Ziyu, so we can clear the level early. Zhongqi's eyes were full of disdain. You don't need sister to take action, I can handle it by myself. Zhongling said confidently. In the Secret Realm chat interface, all players can see the camp number. So the two sisters naturally knew who the Little Red Riding Hood was approaching slowly in the distance. Isn't he just a useless black iron? I can take him down even if I don't transform into a werewolf form. Zhongling adjusted her angle and prepared to take action. Zhongqi was convinced, so she did not stop her sister. Instead, he added, after we take him down later, remember to take off his light armor first and then hand it over to Chi Ziyu. That equipment looks extraordinary. Rather than taking advantage of others, it's better for us sisters to keep it ourselves. Don't worry, sister. Zhongling smiled ferociously. I'll just leave that loser with a pair of underwear later. Little Red Riding Hood gets closer and closer. Zhongling is ready to go. Come closer. Come closer. Finally, the two were close enough. Zhongling's limbs suddenly exerted force, and her body rushed out like an arrow from the string. The red cloak quickly enlarged in her eyes. Zhongling even had a victorious smile on her face. However, before she could touch the corner of the red cloak, Lu Li turned around suddenly and took out the huge weapon hidden under his crotch. I've been waiting for you for a long time. On the way to the cabin in the woods. Chi Ziyu's steps were brisk and he was in a good mood. The last strange story was that he not only increased his spiritual value by 3 points by drinking Zhu Laosan's tea. He also killed all the big bad wolves and obtained wolf meat that could increase attribute points. Although the process was a bit bumpy, but overall it went smoothly. It is only a matter of time before the second ghost story is passed. All this is due to Lu Li's talent. No, credit should be given to his wisdom. No matter how talented you are, what's the use? In the end, you just made me a wedding dress. Chi Ziyu became more and more excited when he thought that he would soon be able to clear the entire secret realm. He really wanted to leave here quickly and kill Lu Li with his own hands. However, just when Chi Ziyu was happiest, the data panel suddenly emitted a series of beeps. When I opened it, I found that the chat group of the werewolf camp had exploded. 2 werewolf players died. What happened? Chi Ziyu was surprised. Checking the number of the dead player, it was found that they were the Zhang sisters who were sent to the exit of the town. Why did he die inexplicably? Is it a hunter? Qi Ziyu thought about it and felt that this was the only possibility. After all, he knew the talents of the Zhang sisters. Although not strong, he is definitely not weak either. At least it won't be weaker than a black iron grade reconnaissance. Therefore, the Zhang sisters cannot be killed by Little Red Riding Hood, they will only die in the hands of hunters. It seems that the hunter's gun can easily kill werewolves. It's really a wise choice to do it at Grandma's house. When he first analyzed the rules, Qi Ziyu discovered that there was a time difference between Little Red Riding Hood and the hunter. Little Red Riding Hood must arrive at Grandma's house before the sun sets. The hunter can only enter Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother's house after the moon rises. That is to say, during the period from sunset to moonrise, Little Red Riding Hood will be in a state of no hunter protection. If you start at this time, the big bad wolf will not have to worry about being discovered and killed by hunters. HMPH, no matter how powerful the hunter is, what's the use? If he doesn't know how to analyze the rules, he will die in the end. But now that we know that hunters are very strong, there is no need for the werewolf camp to kick the iron bricks again. Qi Ziyu edited a message to the werewolf group. Everyone should stop attacking Little Red Riding Hood and just keep monitoring to avoid being discovered by hunters and reduce unnecessary casualties. The reason why Qi Ziyu warned him was not because he was kind. The main thing is to prepare for the next weird story. In Qi Ziyu's eyes, other players are expendable items that can be killed. Since it is a consumable, just use it sparingly when not necessary. Once the message was sent, it immediately caused a commotion in the group. What's going on, boss? Why did you suddenly stop attacking Little Red Riding Hood? Yeah, I've already seen Little Red Riding Hood, why don't you do anything? Didn't the boss say that? Don't do anything to avoid being discovered by the hunter. Were our two werewolf teammates killed by hunters before? Isn't this nonsense upstairs? It wasn't killed by a hunter. Could it be that it was killed by Little Red Riding Hood? Hey, the big boss has spoken, asking us to only monitor and not attack. Why do you talk so much nonsense? Yes, you are right to listen to the boss. We all listen to the boss. The information exchange group instantly turned into Qi Ziyu's flattery competition group. However, one player still raised questions. At 1748, Boss Qi Ziyu, is there really no problem if we delay? According to Article 3 of the Big Bad Wolf Code, the big bad wolf cannot be overly hungry, otherwise it will involuntarily howl like a hungry wolf. In addition to Article 5 of the Hunter's Precautions, hunters can accurately locate the hungry wolf as long as they hear the howl of the wolf. If we don't take down Little Red Riding Hood early, what if excessive hunger attracts hunters? Looking at the questions in the group, Qi Ziyu felt a little embarrassed. That's right, he only thought about how to kill Little Red Riding Hood safely, completely forgetting that werewolves can also be overly hungry. If you change your plan at this time, you will undoubtedly slap yourself in the face. Damaging prestige. Thinking of this, Qi Ziyu edited a message. Who told you that the hunger level of a werewolf must be related to Little Red Riding Hood? Wouldn't he eat something when he is hungry? Once the message was sent, it quickly gained a lot of support in the group. That's right, don't you find something to eat when you're hungry? You idiot. Haha, there are always people who think they are smarter than Mr. Qi Ziyu and can think of details that Mr. Qi Ziyu can't think of. A werewolf with such a strong ability must consume a lot of energy. It's normal to get hungry quickly. All these messed up things can be related to each other. Shut your mouth and stop talking. It's a waste of everyone's time. The player who asked the question stared blankly at the abuse that kept popping up in the chat group and rubbed his stomach. Could it be that he really thinks too much? Does the werewolf's hunger have nothing to do with catching Little Red Riding Hood as quickly as possible? But why did he still not feel full even though he had eaten a lot of the food he had brought with him? Are you getting hungrier instead? No, the rules are definitely not that simple. If the werewolf camp didn't have the penalty for passive hunting, it would be too strong compared to the other two camps. This is not fair at all. The player continued to express his views in the group. But no one wants to listen anymore. Most werewolf players chose to remain silent and obey Qi Ziyu's arrangements. The few remaining werewolf players tried to flatter Chi Ziyu by constantly ridiculing him. The other end, Nikita woke up from dizziness and saw an old hunter with an unshaven beard when he opened his eyes. As an apprentice, you were really lazy. Before Nikita could speak, the old man muttered angrily. Everyone else has left, why are you still hanging around here? Today is your first day on the job alone, so you'd better cheer me up. Now, recap your responsibilities. Nikita was a little confused. After thinking briefly, she tentatively spoke. My duty is to protect Little Red Riding Hood. The old hunter hummed nonchalantly. But seeing that Nikita had no intention of continuing, he spoke with extreme dissatisfaction. And hunting, hunting. Nikita nodded in fear. Ah, yes, and hunting. The old hunter snorted. As a qualified hunter, you must hunt at least one wolf today. Of course, we must not forget to protect the safety of urban residents. Okay. Nikita knew this was a plot prompt and nodded like a fool. Okay, hurry up and disappear before my eyes. Seeing your laziness makes my blood pressure rise a lot. The old hunter waved his hand and drove Nikita out of the hunter's cabin. Standing outside the house, looking at the dense trees around him, Nikita decided to contact Luli first. Little Red Riding Hood and the hunter are both allies and can exchange news with each other. However, as soon as Nikita opened the chat interface, his attention was first attracted by the death toll in the upper right corner. Has someone died in the werewolf camp? Nikita was stunned. Luli's figure appeared in his mind. Did he do it? But soon, Nikita rejected his idea. According to the story plot, Nikita thinks that the hunter should go out earlier than Little Red Riding Hood. No matter what happens, both of them should go out at the same time. Otherwise, how can the hunter protect Little Red Riding Hood? The werewolf camp just squatted at the entrance of the town and blocked it. I just heard the old hunter say that I am the last apprentice to go out. So, I'm not the only hunter in the hunter camp. There are also helpers arranged by the secret realm. Yes, that must be the case. The more Nikita thought about it, the more it made sense. She initially thought that while protecting Luli, she would have to hunt more than 300 big bad wolves alone. Now that I know there is help, I feel a lot more relaxed. If there are hunters protecting the light monster, should I concentrate on hunting the big bad wolf? Nikita stroked the shotgun and muttered to himself. Ask the light monster first to see if he needs help. Nikita edited a message and sent it to Luli. The general idea was to ask how the situation was and whether she needed to rush over for protection. Luli's answer was of course unnecessary, and instead he reminded Nikita not to forget to hunt. It seems that there is really a hunter protecting the light monster. If that's the case, then it's my time to hunt. Nikita loaded the weapon expertly. Choosing a direction, he ducked deep into the forest. At the same time, Luli turned off the whining chainsaw and shook off the blood on it. At his feet lay two torn corpses of werewolves. Looking at the two corpses, Luli looked regretful. Why did only two come? Is he looking down on someone like him? Does the Black Iron Detective only have two werewolf players to deal with? If I had known, when I posted the message on the public channel, I would have made myself sound more awesome. With his experience in the previous life, Luli knew exactly how to get the highest reward in the strange story of Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf. Number of kills. No matter which camp you are in, as long as you kill enough players from other camps, you will get the highest reward. Certainly, as a naturally weak side, even if the Little Red Riding Hood camp does not kill players and survives until the end of the strange story, they can still get an exclusive reward. But Luli didn't just want that exclusive reward. He wants them all. If the mountains don't come to me, I will go to the mountains. Luli put away the chainsaw and put the red cloak back around his body. The terrifying chainsaw killer disappeared. The harmless Little Red Riding Hood appears again. Luli looked around and didn't continue along the road. Instead, he headed straight into the depths of the woods. Time passes. News of werewolf deaths kept popping up. The players in the werewolf camp finally realized something was wrong. What happened? Why are people still dying? Are there so many idiots? Boss Chi Ziyu said, just monitor and don't take action, but none of them understand the orders. The death toll is 95, are you rushing to deliver it? You can't think about it so much. Are you all anxious to reincarnate? Chi Ziyu was currently hiding in his grandmother's house, waiting for Luli to surrender. Seeing the messages in the chat group, I couldn't help but frown. How long has it been? Nearly 1/3 of the werewolf players have died. It stands to reason that this should not be the case. There is only one hunter in the hunter camp. The killing efficiency is severely limited. Werewolf players do not cluster together, they are evenly distributed along the road. Even if the hunter's gun can hit 100 times, he can take away a werewolf player with one shot. It is impossible to complete 95 kills in less than half a day. Even if there were 95 pigs scattered in the forest, it would be impossible for hunters to kill them so quickly. Not to mention a wise werewolf player. A ridiculous thought suddenly arose in Chi Ziyu's heart. The hunter kills so quickly. Could it be that he knew the werewolf's hiding place in advance? Has anyone seen the specific situation? Chi Ziyu suppressed his uneasiness and asked in the group. The noisy group chat fell silent for an instant. Only one player numbered 1888 replied. Although I haven't seen the specific situation, one thing is 100% certain. The ones who massacre our werewolf players are not hunters. Not a hunter. How can this be? Chi Ziyu looked gloomy and asked. Didn't you see the specific situation? How can you be sure that the murderer is not a hunter? Some players in the group also expressed doubts. After a while, 1888 replied. Because I was nearby when the last werewolf player was killed. At that time, no shots were fired. As soon as these words came out, there was a dead silence in the chat group. No gunfire. How did the werewolf player die? Is it haunted? What else did you see? Chi Ziyu continued to ask, wanting to know more information. But 1888 players stopped replying. Just when the players were going crazy at 1888, a kill message popped up in the werewolf chat group. Werewolf player No 1888 has died. Werewolf camp death toll, 96. Died. Just a second ago, I was sharing news in the group. He left quietly the next second. The hearts of the werewolf players suddenly sank to the bottom. Some people started to panic. Didn't you say that the werewolf camp is the safest camp? Why are people dying one after another now? Did we understand the rules wrong? You must know that there is only one hunter in the hunter camp. Why are there no gunshots? Don't hunters need a gun to kill a werewolf? Just one look and you'll die. Hunter 1203 must have cheated. Otherwise, how could she kill so fast? Seeing the chaos in the chat group again, Chi Ziyu turned off the data panel and frowned in thought. There are currently two known keywords. They were, quick slaughter, and, no gunfire. Under what circumstances can these two keywords be satisfied at the same time? Sneak attack, Chi Ziyu murmured to himself. Only a sneak attack can achieve, quick killing, and, no gunshots, at the same time. Can the prerequisites for, sneak attack, be met? Hunter players, cheating. That ridiculous thought resurfaced again. The hunter knew the hiding place in advance. Only in this way can the prerequisites for, sneak attack, be met. But how is this possible? The hiding location of werewolf players has only been disclosed in the werewolf camp's chat group. Players from other camps cannot see these messages at all. Thinking of this, Chi Ziyu's eyes suddenly widened. Someone leaked the secret. There is a traitor in the werewolf camp. Because only in this way can hunters know the hiding locations of all werewolf players in advance and then kill them quickly. In order not to attract the attention of the werewolves around him, he deliberately chose to kill without shooting. How vicious. It's a pity that the werewolf can't cause harm to the hunter. Otherwise, Chi Ziyu could easily break the situation by killing the only hunter. It's impossible to find out the mole at the moment. Can we just sit back and wait for the hunters to kill all the werewolf players in the forest? Absolutely not. Although Chi Ziyu doesn't care about the lives of other players, he does care about whether he can successfully pass the ghost story. If too many werewolf players die, it will affect the level of clearance. Then he would be at a huge loss. It seems we have to take action in advance. We can't wait for Little Red Riding Hood to get to Grandma's house. Chi Ziyu rolled his eyes and had a countermeasure. He reopened the werewolf chat group. Everyone, I think it is very possible that there is a mole among the werewolf players. Someone colluded with the hunter camp and exposed the specific hiding places of the werewolf players. Otherwise, our people wouldn't have died so quickly. We wouldn't have heard any gunshots. Werewolf players in the group echoed. What the boss said makes sense. No wonder our people died so quickly. It turns out there was a traitor. Who is it? If I catch him, I'll have to slap him to death. I really don't know what's good or bad. I don't hug my good thighs and insist on treating the thief as my father. Chi Ziyu continued. To prevent our teammates from continuing to be massacred, I have a plan. Everyone, stop being scattered and gather together to look for Little Red Riding Hood. After we find it, let's kill Little Red Riding Hood together and speed up the ghost story. Some players said they didn't understand. Boss, if all the werewolf players gathered together, wouldn't it be easier for them to be killed by hunters? And the mole is also among us, and the hunter is fully aware of our changes. Maybe if I can't speed through the monster story, I will die faster. However, Chi Ziyu replied confidently, don't worry, everyone, I have a way to lure away the hunters. What can I do? Someone in the group asked. But Chi Ziyu did not reply to him. Soon, some werewolf players reacted and at the player who asked. The boss said there is a way, but there is a way. Why do you talk so much? If you ask so carefully, are you the traitor? You want to figure out the big boss's method and then tip off the hunter, right? Player number 888 quickly cried out. It's unfair. Mr. Cao just asked casually, how could he be a traitor? But the werewolf players no longer buy it. Don't explain. Explanation is just a cover-up. To prove your innocence, please commit suicide. Yes, yes, go and die. The denunciation within the group became louder and louder than ever. Seeing that player number 888 is about to drown in everyone's saliva, Chi Ziyu suddenly smoothed things over. You don't have to worry. Even if player number 888 is a traitor, it will not have any impact. Everyone just needs to carry out the plan and leave the rest to me. The werewolf camp will not lose. Lu Li was walking quickly in the forest when he suddenly stopped. He turned his head in confusion and looked in a certain direction. Are the scattered werewolf players starting to gather? In order to confirm this phenomenon, Lu Li also deliberately took out the chainsaw hidden under his crotch and felt it carefully. That's right, werewolf players are indeed moving collectively, gathering in a certain direction. In fact, there are no insiders in the werewolf camp at all. There is no such thing as tipping off hunters. The reason why the werewolf players died so quickly was because of the powerful props Lu Li borrowed from Mother Pig. Item name, Furious Jigsaw. Quality, Myth, Function Description. The werewolf must die. Causes a fatal blow to wolf-shaped creatures. I smell their stink. Automatic tracking of wolf-like creatures within 10 kilometers. Control until death. Applies a mobilization effect to wolf-shaped creatures within sight until the opponent dies. Note, let's play a game. It was precisely because of this item that Lu Li was able to quickly find the hiding place of the werewolf players. And killed them with great ease. Werewolf player didn't hear the gunshot when he died. Of course not. They were all hacked to death by Lu Li with a chainsaw. There could be no gunshots. What do these werewolf players mean? They gathered all of a sudden because they thought they didn't die fast enough. Lu Li's face was full of confusion. But after thinking for a long time, he still didn't understand the other party's purpose. It's just that I instinctively feel there's something wrong with it. Are you trying to block me? Lu Li rubbed his chin and murmured to himself. But he soon overturned this idea. If the werewolf players really wanted to surround him, why not just surround him at the exit of the town? At that time, only 2 werewolf players were sent, and they obviously looked down upon him, the Little Red Riding Hood. Is it possible that you want to surround the hunter? Lu Li raised his eyebrows, and his expression gradually became serious. Hunter players are not invincible. In his previous life, in the rules secret realm that Lu Li participated in, there was an example of werewolf players working together to kill hunter players. Because they reversed the first rule of the hunter camp. Hunters are great, and hunters with guns are great. Although the hunter's gun has no bullet limit, there is an irreducible shooting interval. As long as the werewolves swarm up, they will surely take away the hunter's shotgun. Without a shotgun, a hunter is no longer a good hunter. Werewolf players can kill it. The more Lu Li thought about it, the more it seemed possible. It is said that 3 cobblers can rival Zhuge Liang. There are so many players in the werewolf camp, and they shouldn't all be freeloaders. It is normal for one or two smart people to come up with the reverse rule. Nikita is in danger, let her hide. Having made up his mind, Luli immediately contacted Nikita. Inform the werewolf gathering location and tell the woman to avoid it. Although Nikita didn't know why Luli knew the enemy's movements so thoroughly, but out of trust in Luli, she still chose to do it. It's up to you. I'll go directly to my grandma's house and wait for you. Okay, there happen to be a few werewolf players over there. You can kill them while ensuring your own safety. Luli typed a reply and closed the data panel. 200 werewolves appearing at the same time is a huge danger to hunters. But for Little Red Riding Hood, who owns the furious Jigsaw, it's a big pie falling from the sky. That's great. It saves me having to look for each one. Luli hid in his cloak and strode towards the werewolf gathering point. The other end. Under the command of Chiziyu, the werewolf players have successfully gathered at the predetermined location. In fact, many people have doubts about Chiziyu's plan. But due to the pressure of his powerful talent, he had to choose to obey. When they get together, werewolf players will inevitably have discussions. Apart from Boss Chiziyu's plan, the topic that attracted the most attention was the player number 888 who called himself Sao. It was you who wanted to know about Boss Chiziyu's plan before. HMPH, you look like a spy. You must be trying to tip off the hunter, right? In my opinion, just kill him. Why keep a black sheep like this? Player number 888 accompanied the smiling face and said timidly. Dear sisters, I was quick and asked one more question. I am really not a spy. Werewolf players didn't buy it and were aggressive. You said it's not true. I saw you interacting with player No 1414 on the public channel before. It's very suspicious. That's right. I remember you said you wanted to help him take care of his wife and daughter, etc. The relationship is very strong. Player number 888 almost cried. If he had known that things would turn out the way they did now, he would not have said such a mean word if he were beaten to death. Seeing the werewolf players getting closer and closer, it seemed that they were going to tear him apart in the next second. Player number 888 was in a hurry and quickly defended himself. Everyone, think about it carefully. If I were really a traitor, I would definitely not listen to Boss Chiziyu's order and come here to join us. The werewolf players were stunned. Really, if player number 888 is really a mole. When they heard the news that all the werewolf players were going to gather, they would definitely avoid it as soon as possible. How can any idiot join in the fun even though he knows his identity is exposed? But there are exceptions to everything. In order to prove No 888's innocence, the werewolf players thought of a way. When Little Red Riding Hood appears, if you are the first to catch him, we will believe that you are not a mole. This. Player number 888 hesitated. Not that the mole's work ethic gave him pause. The main thing is fear of death. Zhongqi and Zhongling were inexplicably killed because they blocked Little Red Riding Hood at the entrance of the town. He was the first to go up as the vanguard, so the risk of death was not as high as usual. But number 888 had a second thought. All danger of death should come from hunters. If Chiziyu can really distract the hunter, Little Red Riding Hood itself should not be any threat. Besides, if he doesn't agree now, it is estimated that these werewolf teammates would kill Jiqi on the spot. Number 888 could only nod in agreement. Okay, Little Red Riding Hood will appear in a moment, I'll be the first one. Time flies by while waiting. Soon, a figure wearing a red cloak appeared in the distance on the road. I'm coming. All the werewolf players were worried. Number 888 is particularly tense. Little Red Riding Hood also seemed to see werewolves on both sides of the road. But he didn't show any fear. Just stop for a moment. He continued walking at the same pace as before and walked towards the crowd leisurely. No 888's heart sank. It's over. Little Red Riding Hood came prepared indeed. Although there was no trace of the hunter within sight. But from Little Red Riding Hood's disapproving step, he knew that the hunter must be nearby. Come on now, we'll definitely be killed. The wolf fur on No 888's back was wet and soaked in cold sweat. What's Boss Chiziyu's plan? Why hasn't it been implemented yet? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.